Chapter 41-47. When Chen heard the news and arrived, he happened to see everyone in the Sacred Talisman Palace saluting to the front. The Sacred Talisman Palace's palace master, Li Haoqing, had returned. All the Sacred Talisman Masters were very excited. They had heard from Chen that the palace master would return, so they were looking forward to it. The Sacred Talisman Palace that had been suppressed by the Leijing family for many years would be reborn today. Taking a look at the current Lightning Divine Palace, he nodded his head, as though he was rather satisfied with it. Behind him was a group of Sacred Talisman Masters who had returned. However, with Li Haoqing around and the aura of a Sacred Master, they didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Chen also cupped his fists and bowed to Li Haoqing. Li Haoqing also saw Chen and smiled. "You're lucky." Chen didn't understand, but after looking around, he understood. A person walked out from behind Li Haoqing. It was a beautiful woman in green, with a sly smile on her face. It was Qing Yi. "Why are you here?" Chen was surprised, but more than that, he was pleasantly surprised. "I opened the passage, so of course I have to come and take a look." Qing Yi walked forward and pointed at Chen. "You're the one who's going to be my tour guide. I want to see this place." Seeing Chen standing there, Qing Yi said unhappily, "Why are you still standing there? Let's go." Chen glanced at Li Haoqing, who waved his hand. "Let's go." Chen left with Qing Yi. The core city was a secret, so Chen naturally wouldn't bring her around. After leaving the Sacred Talisman Palace, Chen said, "I'll bring you to my world. I don't have enough authority here." "All right." Qing Yi nodded. Chen asked, "Why are you suddenly here? Is there something you need?" Qing Yi said, "I'm here to see this world. After all, this is the main world, and there are countless living beings here. So you're planning to build an eternal entrance?" Chen's eyes lit up. "Sort of." Chen brought Qing Yi to a transportation formation. After several teleportations, they returned to the Martial Heaven continent. Chen suddenly became very enthusiastic, patiently explaining his world to Qing Yi. Noticing the change in Chen's mood, Qing Yi tilted her head and said, "You seem to be a little too enthusiastic." Chen didn't hide it and smiled. "Of course, you're my big money bag now. If I serve you well, I'll have another big deal in my world in the future." The corners of Qing Yi's mouth curled up. Chen started to bring Qing Yi to tour his own world. Qing Yi was very surprised. She didn't expect Chen to have such a world. During this time, Chen didn't introduce the place where the lost race lived. However, with Qing Yi's keen perception, she naturally knew this and asked the reason. Chen did not hide anything and told him the truth. "Seems like your world is full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers." Qing Yi smiled faintly. "How is it? What do you think of my previous proposal?" asked Chen immediately. If they really opened a channel from Chen's world, then to Chen's Martial Heaven continent, it would represent an endless stream of resources. Its value would far surpass a mine. "Not much." Qing Yi continued, "This isn't a small matter. I can't make the decision on my own." "Of course. Go back and discuss it. I'm willing to provide a portion of the profits," said Chen. "Who cares about your profits?" Qing Yi rolled her eyes at Chen. "I really can't make the decision on my own. There's also the soul-devouring race and the sea race. The three powers need to sit together and discuss this." Chen wasn't surprised by this. The laws of this world had become complete, and there was no need for them to fight to the death. They could just cultivate together in this world. However, don't get your hopes up. Before coming here, your sacred sovereigns also had this intention. However, it's hard to say where the entrance to the eternal world will be located. Chen nodded. This matter was related to huge benefits. He naturally had to be cautious. Qing Yi wasn't in a hurry to leave. Chen was also very leisurely. He brought Qing Yi around to play and eat some delicacies unique to the Saint Spirit world. The heated discussion about Chen had gradually dissipated. A new hot topic appeared, and that was that the Saint Talisman Masters who entered the Holy Talisman realm had all returned. Not only the Holy Thunder Clan, but also the Saint Talisman Masters who entered the Holy Talisman realm by chance many years ago. They all had soul weapons with them. They were extremely valuable and attracted the attention of various powers. At the same time, there was another piece of news. The Holy Thunder Clan seemed to have the ability to open a complete channel to the Holy Talisman realm. A few days later, Qingyi had to go back to pass on the message. Zichen sent her to the Holy Talisman Palace. It was a temporary transmission array. Before leaving, Qingyi chatted with Li Haoqing about some matters. On the same day, Li Haoqing asked someone to pass on a message to Zichen. The two of them met in a restaurant in the core city. This restaurant was opened by a core disciple. It was said that he had some connections with the city lord. After all, in the core city, those who lived there were mostly core disciples. Every inch of land was worth an inch of gold. It was impossible to open a restaurant here without some background. Li Haoqing casually sat by the window. When he saw Zichen enter, he waved his hand at him. Zichen came forward and bowed to Li Haoqing. "You little brat, where do you have so many formalities? Hurry up and sit." Back in that world, Li Haoqing was Zichen's grandfather for many years. The two of them had a pretty good relationship. It was just that Zichen was still very nervous when his grandfather suddenly became a sage venerate. Because at the start, he wasn't so respectful to his grandfather. That last Qingyi is not bad. Just as Zichen sat down, Li Haoqing smiled and said. Zichen was a little restless. He recalled that back in that world, his grandfather left his only asset, the cave, to him and Qingyi. He hoped that the two of them could carry on the family line. Unfortunately, his wish was never fulfilled. Li Haoqing knocked on the empty wine cup. Zichen understood and immediately filled it up. "You are really amazing. You can cause a commotion wherever you go. I just came back for a few days and I heard a lot about you. There were both good and bad things about you." Li Haoqing sized up Zichen and asked, "Do you want to know if there are more bad things or good things?" Zichen shook his head, "I don't want to know." Li Haoqing asked, "Then what do you want to know?" "I want to know what the sage venerate thinks about the Holy Talisman realm." Zichen replied honestly. Li Haoqing smiled, "Why? I called you here today to talk about something. Can't I treat you to a bowl of wine? I can drink wine anytime. But the Holy Talisman realm is a big matter." Zichen continued, "I want to know what the sage venerate thinks. Do you think the Holy Thunder Clan will be willing to hand over such an important place to you?" Chapter 41-48. Zichen knew very well that controlling the entrance to the Holy Talisman realm was equivalent to controlling the lifeline of all the Holy Talisman Masters in the entire Holy Spirit realm. Not only Holy Talisman Masters, but other Holy Spirits could also enter to train. The value of this was much higher than discovering a mineral vein. Therefore, the Holy Venerate's question was not without reason. Zichen fell into deep thought. Li Haoqing was not in a hurry. He drank slowly and quietly waited for Zichen's reply. After a while, Zichen looked up at Li Haoqing and said, "This is a matter of great importance. Under normal circumstances, it is completely impossible. However, the current situation is not 100% impossible." "Oh, then tell me where it might be." Li Haoqing poured himself a glass of wine and asked with a smile. "The core city is the core of the Holy Thunder Clan. This time, they can only use it temporarily. If they really want to open up a passage in the future, it will be a long-term thing. It is not appropriate to let them enter and leave the core city freely. At the very least, there will be people among the Holy Venerates who are unwilling to do so." Zichen deliberated over his tone. "However, if they are placed outside the core city, they will need to send more people to guard it. This will also be a great loss." Li Haoqing said, "But compared to the benefits, the loss is nothing. Even if they send a Holy Venerate to guard it, they can still pay this price." Zichen nodded and said, "That's right. However, once the passage is opened, it will become the Holy Thunder Clan's passage. I believe that in the following process, there will definitely be many clans who use their power for personal gain. At that time, there will still be a lot of troubles. Or rather, we can ignore them and let the Holy Thunder Clan lose these resources." Li Haoqing said with a smile, What about you? If it is in your hands, won't this situation happen? Zichen said truthfully, of course it will happen. However, that is only my personal matter. The Holy Thunder Clan's interests will not be affected. I will personally build the teleportation formation and pay for the resources used each time. Furthermore, the Sacred Thunder Tribe can rest assured that it will be in my world. Most importantly, every time the teleportation portal is activated, I will give the Sacred Rune Palace a free quota. Li Haoqing said, in that case, you've really thought it through. It seems that you really want it. Zichen nodded and said, if you give it to the Holy Thunder Clan, you'll only have one more entrance. But if you give it to me, it'll be different because it'll increase the popularity of the Tianwu world. Then how many slots do you intend to give to the Holy Thunder Clan? Li Haoqing asked again. I haven't decided on the quota for the Holy Thunder Clan yet, but I'll definitely give more quotas for the Sacred Rune Palace. Zichen suggested, in other words, we should directly give more quotas to the Sacred Rune Palace. As for the Holy Thunder Clan, we won't give any quotas. It seems like you're very clear about the Holy Thunder Clan. Li Haoqing smiled meaningfully. Zichen said, there's no other way. We have to be clear about this. I can't keep doing things like scolding people while eating my food. Moreover, this matter was facilitated by the Sacred Rune Palace and me. The Holy Thunder Clan didn't contribute much from the beginning to the end. Even if we don't give them any quotas, there's no problem. Then what if the Holy Thunder Clan refuses this matter? Then I'll move the world to the outer area of the Holy Thunder Clan. Naturally, there won't be any problems. Li Haoqing nodded and agreed with Zichen's idea. After returning, he learned about the situation of the Sacred Rune Palace. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry. However, the development of a force depended on one's own ability. The Sacred Rune Palace couldn't compete with the Lei Jing family, so he had nothing to say. There was nothing wrong with being loyal. But there was a problem with being blindly loyal. Moreover, after such a thing happened, the Holy Thunder Clan didn't say anything and allowed the news to spread. Moreover, it was the other forces that cleared Zichen's name. The Holy Thunder Clan didn't say anything. This was indeed inexcusable. Go back and think about it seriously. If you really understand, then do it. Li Haoqing said, but there's one thing. The quota for the Sacred Rune Palace can't be reduced. Obviously, Li Haoqing agreed. Zichen didn't expect it to be so easy. He was very surprised. Now you don't have any other thoughts. Have a few drinks with me. Okay. Zichen immediately got up and poured wine. He was overjoyed. The Tianwu continent welcomed another bumper harvest year. What do you think of this world? Li Haoqing suddenly asked. Zichen was stunned. What did he mean? What do you think of this world? Li Haoqing asked again. It didn't seem like he was joking at all. Zichen was completely stunned. He couldn't even take care of the Tianwu continent. How could he dare to have an opinion of this world? Li Haoqing was obviously waiting for an answer. Zichen immediately shook his head and said, I don't have an opinion. Everything is fine. Li Haoqing nodded. It was unknown whether he was satisfied with this answer or not. After drinking, Zichen took his leave. Next, he had to discuss with Jolina where the transmission array should be located. At the same time, he had enough time to manage the Tianwu continent. The Tianwu sacred region that was given to Zichen was also in the process of planning and development. From there, he could directly reach the Tianwu continent. After Zichen left, Lei Di came to the restaurant and sat in the seat that Zichen had previously sat in. The matter of the lost world was over. There was no point in him staying there. Not only had Lei Di returned, but the bloodline ancestor had also returned. At this time, even if the Holy Moon Clan was unwilling, they would not do anything excessive to the Holy Thunder Clan. After Lei Di sat down, Li Haoqing asked, he still doesn't know his identity. Lei Di picked up the wine cup that Zichen had used before and poured himself a cup of wine. Li Haoqing asked again, why don't you tell him? He is Zichen. What should I tell him? Lei Di drank the wine in the cup. You know, he is not the Zichen you know. Li Haoqing said. Yes, He is not the Zi Chen I used to know, but he is still Zi Chen. He has been growing all the way. Although he is very different from the Zi Chen of the past, I don't think there is anything wrong with that. Lei Di paused and said, moreover, if this is heaven's will, then let him continue to grow according to heaven's will. Childish, how can there be heaven's will in this world? Li Haocheng snorted. Maybe not. Lei Di let out a low sigh and said, but he is Lord Zi Chen. I wouldn't be surprised if heaven's will appeared in him. Li Haocheng looked at Lei Di and said, it has been so many years. Why blame yourself? Moreover, he is not dead, is he? Lei Di said, I always feel that something happened back then that I don't know about. Perhaps Lei Tian is hiding something from me. Then why don't you ask him clearly? Zi Chen is not dead. He should be alive. You may not be the strongest back then, but in terms of escaping, there are few opponents. He's dead. I killed him when I first met Zi Chen, said Yi Futian. Ah! Chapter 41-49. After Zi Chen returned to the martial heaven continent, he began to develop his world at full speed. The Holy Talisman realm became a hot topic, and the world gradually learned about the resources there. The soul weapons that Zi Chen had once brought out were also known by the world. Some people even began to sell them, and they were extremely valuable. Just as everyone was filled with curiosity about the Holy Talisman realm, another piece of news spread. Zi Chen's martial heaven continent was suspected to be able to open a teleportation formation that led directly to the Holy Talisman realm. This piece of news caused quite a stir. Even some clans that were close to the martial heaven continent came here to investigate. Whether it was Zi Chen or Zhou Lina, they didn't give a clear answer. However, the price of joining the Tree City was 10 times higher than before. It seemed to be the best answer. Thinking of what Zi Chen had said before, the various powers didn't hesitate and began to enter Zi Chen's world. At the same time, those powers that didn't come from the Holy Thunder Clan also came to Zi Chen's world through the martial heaven sacred region, intending to join. Zhou Lina didn't refuse them and welcomed them. After all, the price was very high. Of course, there were also some people who harbored evil intentions and were secretly investigating. They were most likely looking for the lost race. Unfortunately, very few of them were able to leave the Tree City. Even if they could stealthily avoid the detection of the guards, those spirit trees would become Zi Chen's eyes and inform him of the situation immediately. Late at night, Zi Chen's main city was still very lively. Many shops were still open and brightly lit. There were also some restaurants where the sound of cultivators drinking wine could be heard. The sounds of laughter, drinking games, and clamor were endless. Beside Zi Chen, a few ripples surged, and his figure disappeared from the spot. He arrived above the sea of trees, at the place where the largest ancient tree was located. The space around him was still rippling, preventing others from probing. Jiano's face appeared. You haven't been here in a long time. Zi Chen said, I have some resources here. Take a look and see which ones are useful to you. Zi Chen took out a lot of resources. It was obvious that he had obtained them through experience. Aside from Jiano, there was also the queen ant and the broodmother. They needed to grow as well. It wasn't just this time. During the years when Zi Chen wasn't around, Zhou Lina had also sent resources to him many times. Actually, there was no need to send them off. All he had to do was stay in his room and inform Jiano. Naturally, there would be spirit trees that would take those resources underground. While Zi Chen's world was developing, a large portion of the income from the resources was given to the three existences. During this time, the three beings would also give Zhou Lina some things that could be exchanged for resources. Perhaps the Holy Spirits wouldn't be interested in these things, but they could be sold in the Sky Martial Holy Region. While the Sky Martial continent was developing, the Sky Martial Holy Region was also developing and becoming more and more prosperous. However, Zi Chen didn't say anything, so Zhou Lina didn't expand. After returning to his residence, Zi Chen took out the Zi Chen Palace. Currently, the palace seemed to be the only place he could use. As for what else was inside, he really didn't know. Ever since he returned last time, Palace Spirit Su hadn't appeared again. During this time, Zi Chen called out a few times, but there was no response. Placing the palace on the wooden table, Chen was in a daze. As long as he was alone, he would think of the scene he saw in the lost world. Another Chen. Another him. Lei Tianxia gave half of the Chen palace to him, but he didn't tell the truth. He only said that he refined it himself. However, in that memory, Lei Tianxia was clearly called Lei Tian. That year, Lei Tianxia suddenly disappeared, along with Xuewu's aura. Chen wanted to ask him some questions, but he couldn't find him. It was also at that time that he met Lei Di and Lei Zhengke. The two of them brought him back to the Holy Thunder clan. From then on, he didn't sense Lei Tianxia and Xuewu's aura. From what he saw last time, it wasn't strange that Lei Tianxia knew Chen. Was it possible that he entered Lei Tianxia's world on purpose? Why didn't he tell him the truth? Lei Di treated him well, and it was said that Lei Di was an ancient existence. Was it possible that he knew the Chen from back then? Back then, when the two Saint Masters went out to bring him back, did they know his identity? But was he Chen, or was he that Chen? In the future, would that Chen be reborn from his consciousness and control this body? This was the worry that appeared in Chen's mind when he was free, so he didn't cultivate much during this time. Chen, who was in a daze, suddenly noticed a light flickering in front of him. His eyes gradually regained their vigor. It was the Hall Spirit Su, who hadn't appeared until now. She was waving at Chen. "Hey, it's time to wake up. Why did you come out?" Chen asked. "I called you many times, but you didn't come out." Hall Spirit Su said, "I can only become one with the Chen Hall, so I naturally need to get used to it. How about this? What do you think of this dress?" The dazzling dress and beautiful face were obviously charming, but when she blinked at Chen, she didn't look cute, but more charming. Chen looked at her and said, "Now I want to know what resources are in the Chen Hall. There are many resources, but you can't use them, so it's useless to say it now." Hall Spirit Su stopped teasing Chen. "However, with my authority, I can use some resources that can be used to temper your weak body." In this world, except for Hall Spirit Su, no one dared to say that Chen's body was weak. "How do I temper it?" Chen asked. Hall Spirit Su snapped her fingers and smiled. "Of course I'll use it. There are so many good things, it would be a waste if I don't use them." A power appeared out of thin air. It was the power that Chen had obtained when he went to the Lost World, but its quality was purer and more refined. When this power appeared, a strong desire came from his body. He wanted to devour it. Chen's eyes lit up. He knew that this was good stuff, and his body would be strengthened a lot. Hall Spirit Su did not immediately give the power to Chen. Instead, she said, "But before that, there's a crucial step." "What step?" Chen suddenly had a bad feeling. "Bone tempering." As soon as she said that, Chen's eyes blurred. In the next moment, he appeared in the Chen Hall. There was a person standing in the hall. An existence wearing battle armor. The moment he saw the other party, Chen felt like running away. Last time, he had encountered them, causing Chen to experience 9 deaths in a day. Because your bones have already been formed, it will be difficult and time-consuming to temper them again. Therefore, in order to speed up your progress without affecting your root bone, this method of rebuilding after breaking is the most appropriate. After explaining, Hall Spirit Su retreated. The existence in front rushed towards Chen. Chen took a step back and got into a fighting stance. Then, there was a scream and the sound of bones breaking. Chapter 4150. Looking at the unconscious Chen, Su shook her head and clicked her tongue. How pitiful. She squatted down beside Chen and took out a ray of power. This ray of power seemed to be attracted and entered Chen's body. It started to revive Chen's body. Your current strength is not even 1,000th of what it was back then. Although I still don't understand why this happened, I know that my mission is to make you stronger. Even if I can't make you stronger, I have to make you as strong as you were back then. Too weak is no good. It's not worthy of your name. Chen's body started to revive. Su took out ray after ray of power. This power was many times stronger than what Chen had obtained from killing the humanoid creature. Back then, You suddenly abandoned Palace Zichen. Did you know that this day would come? That's why you left these things behind, so that you could grow stronger in the future. But why were you in such a hurry? Why didn't you tell me more clearly? Did Lei Tian and Lei Di know about this? Even if they didn't know, you should have told me, right? You didn't even say a word and just left Palace Hall Zichen behind. Who knew that after so many years, you would no longer be the same person? Su was still providing power to Zichen, but what happened? Why would someone as powerful as you fall and be reborn? But even you could fall back then. After being reborn, your battle strength is not even as strong as before. How can you guarantee your own safety? Zichen's body was recovering and his body was glowing. Su suddenly cried out in surprise and stared at Zichen carefully. Previously, she seemed to have sensed an abnormal power in Zichen's body. However, after carefully sensing it, she did not discover anything. Was it an illusion? Zichen only woke up after the palace spirit Su consumed 13 streams of energy. After waking up, Zichen's body was in pain, but his body was filled with powerful power. Refine this power first until you're familiar with the strength of your body, Su said. Zichen sat cross-legged and began to recover. His body's recovery speed was obviously not as fast as 9 deaths, but his growth was obvious. 5 days later, Zichen had fully recovered, and his physical strength had increased by a lot. Su the Hall Spirit said, "Then let's continue." The armored existence appeared once again. He punched out again. The pressure between heaven and earth suddenly reappeared, and Zichen immediately lost control of Zichen Palace. At the same time, his strength and soul power were strongly suppressed, and he couldn't use them. Otherwise, Zichen wouldn't have been so weak. One punch. It was still a single punch. Zichen fell to the ground, his consciousness slipping into unconsciousness. There is still a long way to go. Hall Spirit Su continued to use her power to help Zichen recover. After Zichen recovered for the 3rd time, Su the Hall Spirit said, "Stop cultivating for now. Someone is looking for you." Zichen reappeared in the room. A saint spirit from the core city sent a message to Zichen, saying that someone was looking for him at the Saint Talisman Palace. Zichen followed the other party to the core city and saw Qingyi. "Have you finished discussing?" Qingyi asked directly after seeing Zichen. Zichen nodded and then asked, "What about you?" Qingyi said, "There is no problem, but there are some details to be discussed. Let's go to my world." The two stepped into the teleportation array and returned to Zichen's world. Zichen told Qingyi his plan. The entrance of the teleportation array would be in Zichen's world, but it would not be in Zichen's main city, but in another bustling city. Mengyaro City. Qingyi didn't have any objections because they also planned to build a new city where the 3 races could live together. At the same time, it would be a new reception area. "What resources do you need? Just tell me. Everything will be paid for by the Tianwu continent." After discussing some details, Zichen said directly. Qingyi said, "The cost of building 2 fixed teleportation arrays is not small, and every time it is activated, it will consume countless crystals. So before we came, we have already discussed that we will build our own teleportation arrays, so it will be easier to maintain them in the future." "That's good too." Zichen nodded and said, "If you have agreed, then we can start building now." Qingyi didn't have any objections. She followed Zichen to Mengyaro City. Although this city was not the main city, it was still very bustling. There was only a vice city lord in this city, there was no city lord. Zhou Lina followed beside Zichen, and the vice city lord personally stood beside the teleportation array to welcome them. The group of people chose a suitable place in the city until Qingyi was satisfied. Then Zichen asked a very important question: how often can the teleportation array be activated? Because the distance was too far, it consumed a lot of resources, so it couldn't be activated casually. Qingyi smiled and said, "If there are enough resources, it can be activated once a year." Zichen wasn't worried about the teleportation resources. The Saint Spirit Realm didn't have anything else, but it had a lot of resources. So when it was built, the teleportation array was deliberately built to be bigger. After everything was arranged and Qingyi was sent away, Zichen returned to Zichen Hall. Cultivation had to continue. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The Saint Spirit realm was very big, so big that it was infinite. The secrets of this world were far from being unearthed. First, there was the immortal realm with many resources, and then there was the lost world that was still blazing. In addition, there were many secret places, and even some places' resources might far surpass the total of the immortal realm and the lost world. On an uninhabited planet, there was a withered and dead silence. There was a towering mountain peak that reached into the clouds, and not a single blade of grass grew. After an unknown amount of wind and sun, many cracks had appeared on the mountain peak. Suddenly, these cracks intensified and exploded without warning. The mountain rocks rumbled and collapsed downwards. Waves of distorted power appeared out of thin air, and all the falling mountain rocks instantly turned into dust. When the billowing smoke and dust dissipated, a man in broken armor stood there. There was a hint of confusion in his eyes, as if he hadn't completely woken up. After an unknown amount of time, his eyes gradually regained clarity. You actually didn't die. He looked at his body and laughed out loud. The broken armor on his body turned into specks of light and scattered. This armor that had existed for who knows how many years completely disappeared from heaven and earth. Bayu looked at the dilapidated world around him and frowned. How did the spirit realm become like this? His eyes gradually turned cold. What's the use of such a world? He stomped his feet, and the world fell apart. The only spiritual power was gathered together by him with great magic power, like an energy ball, and swallowed in one gulp. Standing in the void, he saw thousands of planets reflected in his eyes. There were spiritual power and life on the planets. That's more like it. Chapter 41:51. Zi Chen looked at the armored man in front of him and took a deep breath. He had been killed by a single punch, but now he could resist. Su the Hall Spirit stood aside and watched quietly. Zi Chen clenched his fist and moved. He punched forward like a bright stream of light. She nodded. No matter how strong he was, his mentality was not bad. The armored man in front of him remained silent and punched again. The two fists met. There was a loud boom and waves of air spread out. Zi Chen's body slid backward. A huge force came from his arm. Zi Chen vaguely felt that his bones were about to be shattered. Zi Chen blocked the opponent's punch. He was no longer killed by a single punch. It was just two punches. The opponent's second punch followed and landed on Zi Chen's chest. A powerful shock. Zi Chen was dead. Su the Hall Spirit shook her head. She could not bear to look at it. Fortunately, the miserable Zi Chen's return was not small. She was very pleased with the speed of his physical body's growth. This also meant that Zi Chen's foundation was not bad. He was not as weak as she thought. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In a remote tavern, Bayu drank bland wine and listened to the discussions of the drinkers around him. This place was very remote, and news was somewhat blocked. At this moment, everyone was still talking about Zi Chen and the voices of those forces. However, because it was too far away, the authenticity of many of the news had to be considered. Most of it was exaggerated. Fortunately, it was just idle talk at the table, and no one took it seriously. Zi Chen? The Zi Chen from the Thunder Clan? Isn't he a holy venerable? How did he become a holy spirit? Does he have the same name? Bayu tapped the table with his fingers. He's the strongest person in the spiritual realm now. Bayu left the tavern and headed in the direction of the Holy Thunder Clan. During this period, he deliberately measured the true combat strength of the Holy Spirits in the Holy Spirit realm. They were all defeated by a single punch. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A Holy Spirit named Bayu appeared out of nowhere. As a 7-star Saint Spirit, he challenged all the opponents in the same realm as him, but he was always defeated with a single punch. No one knew his origins. This was an existence that had appeared out of nowhere, and it was said that he would challenge all the experts of the same level in the Saint Spirit realm. As the news spread, many people speculated whether the other party's combat strength was on par with Zi Chen's. The other party walked at a steady pace, moving from one star area to another. He didn't need to search for them, as someone would tell him where to find the famous 7-star saint spirits. Wherever he went, he would knock them down with one punch. Gradually, he gained a better understanding of the saint spirit of this world. Then, he said, it doesn't live up to its name. After that, he no longer challenged 7-star cultivators but 8-star cultivators. But he still defeated his opponent with a single punch. Are there no experts in this world? Such a weak existence dares to call himself an 8-star? His words spread out, causing a commotion. Everyone was guessing where this guy who appeared out of nowhere came from. Asterisk 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 in the restaurant, Baiyu was drinking. The entire restaurant was already full. It wasn't that business was good, but that almost everyone had come to see Baiyu. There were even many people standing outside the restaurant. They all wanted to see this expert's peerless demeanor. Because during this period, there had been rumors that this person had the absolute combat strength to suppress Zi Chen. Who wouldn't want to see such an expert passing by? Apart from that, these people had also gathered here to watch a new confrontation. Baiyu challenged the master of this star area, an 8-star saint spirit, to spar with him outside the restaurant. They also wanted to see if Baiyu could still defeat his opponent with one punch this time. Asterisk 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 junior sister, your breakthrough speed is really fast. I'm really ashamed. Yu Buhuai looked at the woman beside him and said with a smile. The woman's body emitted a faint fluorescent light, making her look very mysterious. That was the unique moon power of the Holy Moon clan. Even the current 7-star Yu Buhuai couldn't naturally trigger this phenomenon. Senior brother, you flatter me. Yu is only a 3-star saint spirit now. I'm still far from you, the woman with an extraordinary temperament and a stunning appearance said modestly. Junior sister, what are you talking about? Who in the Holy Moon clan doesn't know that you are the future star of the clan? Maybe one day, the Moon Lord will accept you as his last disciple. The Moon Lord was the master of the Holy Moon clan. The woman named Shangguan Yue smiled faintly. In fact, no one knew that she had met the Moon Lord many years ago. He had offered to accept her as his disciple, but she had refused. Because she knew that sooner or later, she would leave and return to the Holy Thunder clan. Because the person she cared about the most was there. Although she didn't know what had happened in the Lost World last time, she could feel the estrangement between the Holy Moon clan and Zi Chen. It wasn't between the two clans, but towards Zi Chen alone. In addition to the two of them, there were more than 10 people here, led by Yu Butian. He looked back at Shangguan Yue and said, Junior sister Yue, don't worry. We are only going to meet one person this time. We won't delay your cultivation. We are almost at our destination. Junior sister can go around freely. We came out this time to let junior sister relax. Later, follow a few people to protect junior sister. There was a huge planet in front of them. Outside the planet, there were nearly 1,000 small planets. That was the area where the 8-star Holy Spirit, Charles, was overseeing. Charles was nurtured by the Holy Moon clan and had been providing them with all kinds of information. The group flew down. After arriving at Charles' world, they didn't look for the 8-star Holy Spirit. Instead, they went to a restaurant full of people. Asterisk 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 the crowd dispersed, and a group of people walked into the restaurant. After these people came in, the young man in the lead waved his hand and said, disperse. There's no battle to watch. They didn't know what magic he had, but everyone really dispersed. Baiyu glanced at the young man and raised his eyebrows slightly. It wasn't that the young man's words were magic, but the power of the moon circulated when he waved his hand. The young man looked at Baiyu and smiled. Charles isn't coming. Baiyu said, you want to fight for him? The young man immediately shook his head and said, no, I'm here to talk business with you. My name is Yu Butian, and I'm from the Holy Moon clan. Baiyu said, I only fight with people. I don't talk business. Yu Butian said, actually, you can listen. You don't have to refuse so quickly. Baiyu snorted, even if you want to talk business, you're not qualified because you can't take a punch from me. Yu Buhuai, who was behind Yu Butian, heard this and his eyes lit up. Yu Butian took the initiative to sit opposite Bai Yu. What if I represent the Holy Spirit? Do I have the qualifications? Bai Yu's eyes flashed coldly. Tell me, what business? Yu Butian said, a resource land. I hope brother Bai Yu can go there and help us fight for it. You're using me as a fighter? No, during this time, someone called Zi Chen will definitely stop you. You've been challenging experts. I believe you must have heard of Zi Chen's name. As long as you and I reach this deal, you don't need to go to Zi Chen. Zi Chen will take the initiative to find you. Really? I'm not lying. Then what can I get? As long as you repel Zi Chen, we're willing to give you a quarter of the resources we get. Seeing Bai Yu frown, Yu Butian added, of course, we can exchange these resources for resources that will help you cultivate. The others had already dispersed because the people of the Holy Moon Clan had arrived and the battle couldn't be fought. The other people of the Holy Moon Clan had also left. Only Yu Butian and Yu Buhuai sat there to drink with Bai Yu. They had already booked the entire restaurant. During this time, the three of them talked and laughed, and their relationship eased a lot. Seeing the sincerity of the Holy Moon Clan, Bai Yu nodded and agreed. Anyway, he was looking for Zi Chen, and it was not bad for him to take the initiative to show up. As the sky was getting dark, Yu Butian got up and said, since we've already agreed, let's rest for the night. We'll set off early tomorrow morning. The Holy Moon Clan had already arranged a place to stay. After the three of them came in, Yu Buhuai looked at one of the people of the Holy Moon Clan. The other party nodded. Yu Buhuai said with a smile, Big brother, go and rest. I'll arrange a place for brother Bai Yu. I'll take him there. All right. Yu Butian nodded. After cupping his fists at Bai Yu, he was taken to his residence. Brother Bai Yu, have a good rest tonight and enjoy yourself. We'll talk about everything tomorrow morning. Yu Buhuai pointed to a room and said, you'll stay here tonight. After that, Yu Buhuai smiled mysteriously at Bai Yu and left. Chapter 41:52. Who are you? Shangguan Yue looked at the man who pushed the door open and immediately stood up, vigilant. Previously, she had sensed that there was someone outside and thought that it was a waiter serving tea and water, so she did not pay much attention to it. However, this person was obviously not someone who could suppress his aura, but she still felt a strong sense of danger. Bai Yu saw the vigilance in Shangguan Yue's eyes, and several thoughts flashed through his mind. He said, someone from the Yu clan? Shangguan Yue said, Holy Moon Clan, who are you, and why are you here? Bai Yu turned and closed the door. Shangguan Yue began to mobilize the moon energy in her body, and her figure became more hazy. Light flowed around her, and she seemed to be ready to attack at any time. If I want to attack, it's useless even if you're a few levels higher. You don't have to be so vigilant, I won't attack you. After Bai Yu closed the door, he turned around and sat opposite Shangguan Yue. He motioned for Shangguan Yue to sit down, and then he stopped talking and fell into deep thought. This was not normal. Shangguan Yue still did not let down her guard. At this moment, her mind was tense, and she was paying attention to the other party's every move. At the same time, she was thinking of a way to escape. Suddenly, her expression changed, and she said, You're Bai Yu? Bai Yu looked up at Shangguan Yue. You know me? Shangguan Yue said, I've heard of your name. Why are you here? The reason why Shangguan Yue had heard of Bai Yu was naturally because of Zi Chen. The other party seemed to have come for Zi Chen, and she had deliberately paid attention to him. She did not expect to see him here today. Moreover, the other party had actually walked into her room. This was naturally not a coincidence. Looking at Shangguan Yue's twinkling eyes, Bai Yu said, You're from the Holy Moon Clan? Shangguan Yue said, You've already asked before. Previously, Bai Yu had said the Yu clan, not the Holy Moon Clan. At this moment, he blurted out the Holy Moon Clan, which meant that his heart was not stable. Do you have a grudge with them? Bai Yu asked again. No grudge. Shangguan Yue shook her head. Bai Yu didn't understand. Since there was no enmity between them, why were they willing to offer her up? Such a beautiful and intelligent woman was rare even back in the day. Looking at Bai Yu's changing expression, Shangguan Yue seemed to have guessed what he was thinking, and she said, I am Zichen's fiancé. What did you say? Bai Yu was stunned, and his expression changed drastically. I am Zichen's fiancé. Shangguan Yue continued. I see. Bai Yu regained his senses and sighed, so that's how it is. Bai Yu stood up and looked at Shangguan Yue's right hand, saying, you are very smart, and you have made the right bet. Although luck plays a huge role, for people like us, luck is also a part of our strength. For example, I'm a lucky person. Therefore, you don't need to have too much luck. As long as it works at the crucial moment, that's enough. Bai Yu turned around and walked towards the door, rest assured and rest. I will keep watch for you. Before opening the door, Bai Yu laughed, idiot, I really didn't expect that my first business deal after Bai Yu, was with a bunch of idiots. How can such a business be profitable? Bai Yu opened the door and closed it again. Then, he sat on the doorstep. There was a life-saving item hidden in Shangguan Yue's right hand. Asterisk 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 Yu Buhuai entered his room. At this moment, his face was full of smiles. It was a smile of victory, and also a smile of a successful conspiracy. Zichen, I don't know if you have heard of the proverb lose the wife and lose the soldiers. It is referring to you now. Your wife has become someone else's plaything, and you are going to lose your own mineral veins. Not only are we the biggest beneficiaries, but we are also firmly in control of Bai Yu, a powerhouse, in our hands. Yu Buhuai smiled proudly. This is a plan that kills 3 birds with 1 stone. Asterisk 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 asterisk. After Yu Butian returned to his room, for some reason, he suddenly felt uneasy. He walked out of the room to get some fresh air. At his level, he shouldn't have this kind of feeling. It wasn't like it was some kind of disaster. After walking out of the room, he began to wander around. Then, he saw Bai Yu sitting on the threshold. He was a little surprised and went forward. Brother Bai Yu, you haven't rested yet? Bai Yu smiled faintly. I won't be resting today. I will be keeping watch for a heroine. Keeping watch for a heroine? Yu Butian was slightly startled and asked in confusion, what do you mean, Brother Bai Yu? Bai Yu pointed behind him. Someone is already living here, so I won't snatch it from her. Yu Butian's expression suddenly changed, and his body swayed. Really? At this moment, the door opened. Shangguan Yue appeared at the door and called out, Senior brother. Seeing Shangguan Yue, Yu Butian's vision went black and he almost fell. Cold sweat instantly drenched his body. He called out, Junior sister, but his voice was trembling. Bai Yu looked at Yu Butian with a calm expression. Yu Butian quickly regained his senses. First, he apologized to Shangguan Yue, bowing deeply and apologizing. Then, he bowed to Bai Yu and said, Brother Bai Yu saved my life. I can't thank you enough. With that, Yu Butian turned and left. Bai Yu looked at Yu Butian's back and saw that his back was completely drenched in cold sweat. This was not an act. He was really frightened. As a higher-up of the Holy Moon clan, Yu Butian knew much more than Yu Buhuai. Last time, Zichen had made them suffer a great loss in the Lost World, but in the end, the Holy Moon clan still spoke up for Zichen. Why? Was it a matter of face? Obviously not. It was because Shangguan Yue and junior sister Mingyu had gone to find the Moon Master. Moreover, he was also one of the few who knew that the Moon Master, who rarely appeared, would naturally appear as long as Shangguan Yue and Mingyu asked for an audience. There had always been rumors in private that if it weren't for junior sister Yue having an extraordinary relationship with Zichen of the Holy Thunder Clan, the Moon Master would have accepted her as his last disciple long ago. This time, Yu Buhuai had proposed to bring Shangguan Yue along, and he had agreed. His original intention was indeed to let his junior sister relax and at the same time deepen his relationship with her. Who would have thought that the idiot would come up with such a bad idea? After Yu Butian left, there was a force that shrouded the surroundings. Whether it was Shangguan Yue or Bai Yu, they did not know what happened next. In short, when everyone left the next day, there was no trace of Yu Buhuai. In addition, there were 3 senior brothers who had participated in this matter who were not with the team. Although Yu Butian's expression was still gentle, everyone could see the haze in his heart. Bai Yu seemed to have forgotten what had happened yesterday. After the team set off, he looked at Shangguan Yu and said, "After you reach the Lost World, please inform Zi Chen in your own name that I, Bai Yu, have something important to discuss with him." Shangguan Yu shook her head and said, "I'm afraid it's not possible in the Lost World. I don't have that authority, but I can try to inform him on the Moon Star. You can meet him there. It's only one step away from the Lost World." Chapter 4153. Zi Chen no longer needed to deal with the matters of the Lost World. He was wholeheartedly cultivating. The results were good, and the hardships he had suffered were unimaginable. Fist against fist. Waves of air rolled. Zi Chen's figure quickly retreated. At the same time, his figure quickly twisted and blocked the opponent's second punch. His reaction was much faster than before. Then Zi Chen's counterattack arrived. He used combat techniques. After a punch, his figure disappeared, and he was already preparing for the second punch. Punch after punch, the two of them exchanged blows, and they were able to fight for a while. After 50 punches, Zi Chen was hit 15 times. His body could no longer hold on and he collapsed. The hall spirit, Su, saw all of this and gave Zi Chen a few words of encouragement after he woke up. Zi Chen didn't learn any techniques. He just kept strengthening his body. His combat techniques were activated with his body. As for his soul power, he couldn't use it because it had been suppressed. The previous storm had long passed, but in the core city, no one came to ask Zi Chen what the resources he had obtained in the end. It seemed that everyone had forgotten about this matter. No one asked, and even those families who were obviously hostile to Zi Chen didn't make a fuss about this matter. This seemed a little strange. Cultivation, still cultivation. Powerful, still powerful. Until a piece of news spread to the Tianwu world and reached Zi Chen's ears. An unfamiliar name appeared in his field of vision. Bai Yu. Next, Zi Chen inquired about Bai Yu. He was very surprised by the other party's battle results. If he hadn't met those armored existences in the hall of Zi Chen would never have believed that such a powerful existence existed in the world. Even if he heard about Bai Yu, he wouldn't have cared. He defeated the enemy with a single punch. He was afraid that he would encounter very ordinary people. However, during this period of cultivation, Zi Chen was very clear about the strength of those who practiced with him. At this moment, Bai Yu, who defeated the enemy with a single punch, appeared, so he had to pay attention. Moreover, this news was spread by Shangguan Yu. She was cultivating in the Holy Moon clan, so how could she care about this kind of thing? Moreover, he even sent a message to ask him to go to the Moon Star to discuss matters with Bai Yu. Zi Chen, who had all kinds of thoughts in his mind, didn't stop. As soon as he received the news, he left the Tianwu world and headed for Moon Star. During this period of time, he had used the teleportation array several times, trying to reach the moon planet as quickly as possible. At the same time, he also sent people to find out why Shangguan Yu was related to Bai Yu. The Holy Thunder clan's information had already spread throughout the entire Saint Spirit realm. Furthermore, Yu Butian and the others had no intention of hiding their tracks, so they quickly obtained accurate information. After reading the contents of the report, Zi Chen's face immediately darkened. Asterisk 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 Moonstar was still bustling with activity, perhaps even more so than before. The news of Bai Yu and Zi Chen going to war had already spread. Everyone wanted to see whether Zi Chen, the number one person in the same realm, was stronger, or whether Bai Yu, who came later, was stronger. Moreover, there had been rumors in private that this battle was related to the benefits in the Lost World. This battle would be held in the largest square on Moonstar. The Holy Moon clan had already opened up a small world in the square where they could battle. Outside the small world, there were many viewing platforms set up. This battle was destined to be the focus of attention. Asterisk 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 Yu Buhui hadn't appeared since the previous night. Shangguan Yu had been following Yu Butian as if nothing had happened. Bai Yu also followed the group, occasionally chatting with Shangguan Yu. However, this girl was just too clever, and she rarely mentioned anything about Zi Chen. Even when she did, it was usually some unimportant things, so he was not able to get any useful information from her. Compared to the idiot last time, Shangguan Yu'er was much smarter. In fact, Bai Yu wasn't very willing to deal with Yu Butian because he wasn't very smart and his combat strength and talent were very ordinary. Such a person wasn't qualified to be on his side. They stood at a commanding height and looked at the small world in front of them. Yu Butian was still giving his final instructions. Bai Yu listened silently and didn't respond. At this moment, someone came to Yu Butian's side and whispered a few words. Yu Butian turned around and said, "Zichen is on his way at full speed and will be here soon." Bai Yu looked at Shangguan Yu'er. "It seems that he cares about you a lot." Shangguan Yu'er said, "He cares about everyone." Bai Yu smiled faintly. "I didn't expect him to be such a sentimental person. It surprised me." "Yu'er." A voice sounded from behind and a beautiful figure flew over. It was Ming Yu. She came closer and looked at Yu'er from head to toe, then looked at Bai Yu with vigilance in her eyes. Finally, she looked at Yu Butian and said, "Senior brother, what is the meaning of this?" Yu Butian said, "You haven't seen Zichen for many years. There's nothing wrong with meeting a friend today." Bai Yu's lips curled up into a smile. Interesting. Another outstanding talent. He didn't expect it to be related to Zichen. Then, was this Zichen the same Zichen? At this moment, exclamations sounded. A person flew over from the horizon like a stream of light, heading straight ahead. Bai Yu stared at the figure, and his eyes gradually lit up. He recognized that person. Even if there weren't many exclamations around him, he would still recognize him. Zichen. It really was him. After so many years, they met again. Zichen's figure was in the air, and his eyes swept around like cold lightning. Many people couldn't get used to his sharp gaze and avoided it. In the end, his gaze stopped on Bai Yu, but he didn't look at Bai Yu. Instead, he looked at Yu Butian. His eyes were very cold as a blade. Yu Butian nodded at Zichen and said, "Brother Zichen, long time no see." Zichen didn't respond to him. Instead, he looked at Shangguan Yu'er. His blade-like eyes instantly softened as if they had turned into water. "Are you okay?" Shangguan Yu'er nodded. Her beautiful eyes were filled with mist. Zichen said, "After this battle, follow me back to the Holy Thunder Clan." "Okay." Shangguan Yu'er nodded again, and Ming Yu also nodded. Yu Butian's expression changed. He didn't expect that Zichen's first words would be this. If he let the two of them leave the Holy Moon Clan like this, he would be guilty of a great crime. However, there were too many people around, so he couldn't explain too much. He could only look at Bai Yu, hoping that the other party would smooth things over. Bai Yu stared at Zichen and said, "If you want your woman to live, then bet all the mineral veins and resources you obtained in the Lost World. Let's fight to determine the winner." Bai Yu said this very loudly, and everyone heard it clearly. An uproar immediately broke out in the surroundings. No one had expected that Zichen would actually come because of this. Yu Butian was so angry that he wanted to curse because this wasn't his previous instructions. Chapter 4154. The surroundings were in an uproar as everyone discussed animatedly. Yu Butian's expression was very ugly. This was going to be troublesome. This was because Shangguan Yu'er and Ming Yu had been personally sent over by Sacred Venerable Lei Di. The relationship between the two women and Zichen had been secretly investigated by them. Now, because of that idiot Yu Buhui, the matter had been completely ruined. Zichen didn't waste any more words with Bai Yu. He turned around and flew towards the small world where the battle was taking place. Bai Yu smiled and followed him. Those people from the Moon Clan were obviously superfluous and childish to play tricks in front of him. Who was he? He was Bai Yu, the sacred venerable protector of the past. What kind of figure was he? How could he be schemed against by a few idiots? The two entered the battlefield space. Bai Yu looked at Zichen and said, "Before the battle, you and I have to make things clear. If you lose this battle, all the resources you obtained in the Lost World will belong to me." Zichen said, "Will it belong to you or the Sacred Moon Clan?" Bai Yu said frankly, "It's about the same. I will have a certain share." Everyone in the outside world heard it clearly. Obviously, this was the Sacred Moon Clan's scheme. They were using Zi Chen's woman to threaten Zi Chen and have such an unfair battle. This was because if Zi Chen won, he would only bring back his woman. But if he lost, he would have to hand over all the gains in the lost world. For a moment, everyone looked at the Sacred Moon Clan in a different light. This was because it was a little shameless. And it was done by one of the 4 sacred clans, the Sacred Moon Clan. Regardless of the outcome of today's battle, the reputation of the Sacred Moon Clan would be affected. Yu Butian's expression gradually darkened. He didn't expect Bai Yu to not give the Sacred Moon Clan any face and directly point out this matter. Let me see how much strength you have left. After saying that, Bai Yu took a step forward. This step instantly closed the distance between him and Zi Chen. Now, the two of them were only an arm's length apart. This distance was enough for him to throw a punch. No one had expected that the battle between the two strongest existences would start so abruptly. For a moment, all kinds of boiling voices sounded. The other party threw out a punch. Everyone's eyes were glued to the front. Would the outcome of the battle be decided with a single punch? This was because Bai Yu had always won in such a way since the beginning of the battle. The power of the fist was vast and mighty, sputtering out countless rays of light. With a muffled sound, powerful ripples spread out in all directions. Zi Chen's figure was sent flying back over 100 meters. There was a universe within the space of the battlefield, and the area was larger than expected. Therefore, Zi Chen was not sent flying. The surrounding exclamations suddenly stopped. Everyone held their breaths and stared ahead. After the punch, Zi Chen did not fall. Shangguan Yu, who had been a little worried earlier, was now relieved. Since he had not been defeated by a single punch, it meant that the chances of him defeating Zi Chen were very slim. Not bad. I want to see how many punches you can take. Bai Yu charged forward once again, heading straight for Zi Chen. The second punch was delivered. Zi Chen's figure flashed, evading the attack. Not bad. Bai Yu smiled faintly, turned around, and attacked at an even faster speed. A sharp whistle sounded beside him. Zi Chen chose to evade again. This was the result of his recent cultivation. Otherwise, even if he could block the previous punch, he would have been seriously injured. The other party was indeed very strong. Unimaginably strong. In the blink of an eye, dozens of punches had been exchanged. Zi Chen did not throw a single punch. He had been dodging the entire time. On the previously quiet battlefield, there were some whispers. Although Yu Butian was dissatisfied with Bai Yu's previous words, he was still very satisfied with Bai Yu's combat strength. If it was him, he would have been defeated no matter which of the two he faced. Alright, I admit that your speed is not bad. But what's the point of continuing to dodge? Bai Yu, who had failed to hit Zi Chen with his consecutive punches, slowly lost his patience. Zi Chen stood in the distance and said, "Alright, I'll show you my strength." His figure flashed, and as if he had teleported, he appeared in front of Bai Yu. This was the first time he took the initiative to attack. He delivered a punch. The power of this punch was not any weaker than Bai Yu's attack. Bai Yu also laughed, and the light on his fist shone brightly. Fist against fist. With a loud bang, the two each retreated more than 10 feet. They were actually evenly matched. Zi Chen smiled faintly and said, "Again, do you think I'm afraid of you?" Bai Yu sneered. Boom. 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 Another roar sounded. In sharp contrast to the previous dodging, Zi Chen did not retreat a single step this time. This time, he collided with Bai Yu with all his strength. And from the beginning to the end, the smile on Zi Chen's face never disappeared. Yu Butian was no longer calm. Although Bai Yu had stepped forward in this battle with Zi Chen, it had already damaged the reputation of the Holy Moon Clan. If Bai Yu could not win, the Holy Moon Clan would suffer a great loss. He inadvertently glanced at the two women beside him, and he suddenly had a headache. If he had known that the idiot Yu Buhui would come up with such a rotten idea, he would never have let Shangguan Yu come out. Now, if the two insisted on leaving the Holy Moon Clan, then he, as the leader, would inevitably be implicated. In the previous trip to the Lost World, There were already people who were dissatisfied with his behavior. This time, they might take advantage of this opportunity to make things difficult for him. If Baiyu could win and take back the resources of the Holy Thunder Clan, the following matters would be easy to resolve. But if he lost, it would be almost impossible for him, the leader, to have such power in the clan. You mustn't lose. Looking at the battle in front of him again, Yu Butian's mood became very heavy. If it were not for Yu Buhuai, he would not be so passive. But it had already happened, and it was useless for him to complain. He could only wait quietly for the result. Judging from the battle situation, whether it was Zi Chen or Baiyu, they seemed to be at ease at this moment and did not show any signs of defeat. If I can bring him back to the clan, it can be considered a merit. Yu Butian thought so. After all, this was an existence whose battle strength could contend with Zi Chen. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged more than 100 punches. In the last collision, Zi Chen borrowed the force to retreat more than 200 feet. He did not immediately continue to attack like before, but stood there. His internal organs were churning, and he needed to be stabilized. Baiyu did not seem to be in a better state, and he also did not immediately attack. After taking a breath to adjust, Zi Chen, who was still a little pale, looked at Baiyu and said, "Do you still want to fight? What do you think?" Baiyu wiped away a trace of blood from the corner of his mouth. "If you don't want to fight, I can accept admitting defeat." Zi Chen said, "In that case, don't blame me for being impolite." His eyes immediately turned cold, and he snapped his fingers and said a word. Fall. Baiyu's expression suddenly changed, and his internal organs, which had been completely suppressed, began to churn violently. A power that had entered his body at an unknown time erupted. Baiyu's face turned red, and the next moment, he vomited blood. Chapter 4155. It was a combat technique. Zi Chen had learned this technique from the Holy Talisman realm, but he didn't use his soul power to activate it. Instead, he used his strength. He had carefully injected his strength into the previous 100 or so punches. Baiyu didn't notice it at all. Now that the accumulated strength had completely exploded, Baiyu was injured as expected. The crowd was in an uproar. Was Baiyu defeated? Yu Butian's expression changed drastically. Such a turn of events was completely out of his expectations. Shangguan Yu and Ming Yu both heaved a sigh of relief. The smile that had just appeared on Zi Chen's face had already disappeared. He realized that Baiyu was only injured and coughing up blood. He didn't collapse as he had expected. Interesting. You actually suffered a hidden loss. As expected of Zi Chen. Baiyu wiped the blood off his chin and looked at Zi Chen. "Since you are already serious, I will accompany you to the end." Baiyu stretched out 2 fingers and put them together like a sword. A sword aura burst out from his fingertips. A sharp aura appeared and the surrounding space distorted. The surroundings became quiet again. Only now did everyone remember that both sides had only used their fists since the start of the battle. They hadn't used any powerful techniques. At this moment, it was obvious that Baiyu had used his full strength. Yu Butian, who was nervous earlier, relaxed a little. Looking at the situation, both sides still had to fight. The outcome was still unknown. "This is my strength." The previous one was just a warm-up. He stretched out his hand and a sword aura went straight for Zi Chen. This move was very similar to Zi Chen's brush of heaven and earth. However, the power of the two was obviously different. Looking at the incoming sword aura, Zi Chen's power circulated. An ancient lightning aura surged out. Sensing this aura, Baiyu's expression changed slightly. "The power of thunder fire?" Zi Chen said seriously, "It's the power of ancient thunder fire." He punched out. This time, his fist was completely wrapped in the power of ancient thunder fire. Its power was much stronger than before. "Ancient times?" Baiyu sighed. "Indeed, it has been a long time." His sword chi was shattered, and the sword will within it was also dispersed by Zi Chen's punch. After seeing Zi Chen's thunder flame power, he didn't continue to attack because it wouldn't be meaningful. The power of his sword will was of the same level as Lei Yang's. Perhaps there was a difference in purity, but it was not a big difference. Therefore, when it came to pure power, The battle prowess of the two was actually on par. Take another punch of mine. If you can block it, I'll give you a chance to negotiate with me. Bai Yu said, this punch of mine is called Dragon Fist, or Dragon Fist. The instant Bai Yu clenched his fist, Zichen heard what he thought was the loud roar of a dragon. Next, a true dragon, formed entirely from sword energy, appeared on Bai Yu's arm. It circled around his arm before converging on his fist. When the true dragon entered his fist was as dazzling as the sun. Powerful waves of air surged from the front, blowing Zichen's robes. Bai Yu had yet to make a move, but he was already so powerful. Zichen took a deep breath. He didn't dare to be careless. He mobilized the power of the ancient thunder flame to the limit. A resounding dragon roar came from the battlefield and spread out in all directions. A true dragon of sword chi rushed towards Zichen. Looking at the true dragon baring its fangs and brandishing its claws, Zichen's clenched fist burned with flames. Outside the flames, countless lightning bolts circled. He looked forward and punched out. Thunder flame. The thunder flame drowned the true dragon in an instant. Then, the two powerful energies clashed. This unique battlefield began to distort violently, as if it couldn't withstand the excessive power and was on the verge of collapse. There was a loud boom. The true dragon of sword will exploded, and the thunder flame also erupted. Powerful energy surged. It was a total explosion. The battlefield, which was already in a precarious situation, could no longer withstand this power and collapsed. Zichen and Bai Yu were swallowed by this energy. Outside the battle platform, there was a commotion. The wind generated by the terrifying aura sent many people flying. Among them, half of them were injured. In the sky, rays of brilliance suddenly fell. Those were powerful saint powers. They were like barriers, blocking the aftershocks. The high-level saint spirits who were hiding in the sky to watch the battle had no choice but to show themselves. The defense they put up was also constantly distorting under the impact of the aftershocks. At this moment, the faces of the saint spirits were filled with shock. It was just a surging energy aftershock, but it required them to join forces. If they were to face this power head-on, who would be able to survive? The energy aftershocks dissipated. Zichen and Bai Yu were still standing in the air. Their robes fluttered in the wind, and they didn't seem to be injured at all. At this moment, everyone recognized Bai Yu's combat strength. He was an existence that came out of nowhere, but was not weaker than Zichen. Because this was the Moon Star, and also because of the Lost World, people from various forces were here. Therefore, at this moment, people from other forces were secretly planning to recruit Bai Yu into their family. Bai Yu was qualified to do so, regardless of success or failure. Bai Yu said, "It seems that it's impossible for us to decide the winner for the time being. Why don't we call it quits and make peace? Of course, the condition is that you give half of your resources to me. You can also take your women back." Zichen sneered, "That's a good idea. What if I don't agree?" Bai Yu said helplessly, "If you don't agree, then I can only make you admit defeat. Actually, what I'm best at is not attacking, but defense. After all, my name is Bai Yu. My real skill is protection." Bai Yu sized Zichen up from head to toe, and said, "If you were at the 8-star realm now, you might have a chance to break through my defenses. But at present, you and I are at the same realm, so you can't break through my defenses. If you can't break my defense, I'm invincible. If I'm invincible, you'll naturally be the loser. Is that so? What a coincidence. I'm not very good at defense, but I'm very confident in my attack. Why don't we have a fight?" Zichen said, "Let's see if I win or you remain undefeated." "You asked for it." Bai Yu snorted and said, "Then let me see what kind of ability you have to be able to break through my sword's protection." Bai Yu formed a seal with both hands. Streams of sword intent flowed around his body, and finally turned into a huge light sword. The light sword completely protected Bai Yu. Looking at the light sword with the sword tip facing upwards, everyone could see that it was not just a defense. Once it was used, it would be a powerful attack. Zichen felt the power of the light sword, but his expression was still calm as he said, "This move of yours is not bad, but I still advise you to just defend with all your strength. Because this move of mine may be a move that will determine life and death. Zichen also began to form a seal. Naturally, it was his recognized strongest technique, the thunder controlling technique. Just as Zichen was forming a seal seriously, Baiyu suddenly asked, "Is it the thunder controlling technique?" Zichen said indifferently, "You also know about the thunder controlling technique?" Chapter 41:56. Everyone thought that they were about to see a different battle because one of the two would definitely lose. The winner or loser would be revealed very soon. However, no one expected that Baiyu would actually admit defeat at this moment. Moreover, it was so sudden that many people could not react in time. Zichen was also stunned and stopped forming seals. "What did you say?" "I'm not fighting anymore. I admit defeat." Baiyu waved his hand again. However, at this moment, the light sword that enveloped him immediately enlarged and enveloped Zichen in the sky. "Shameless!" Shangguan Yu'er exclaimed and flew towards the sky. "Junior sister, don't. The battle is not over yet. Don't break the rules of the battle." Yu Butian raised his hand and shot out a beam of energy to block Shangguan Yu'er. He was very surprised when Baiyu suddenly expressed his intention to surrender. At that time, he had some reservations. Now that he saw Baiyu's action, he understood. This was also one of the tactics. In his heart, he was very impressed. Moreover, this was not against the rules. Deep down, Yu Butian actually admired this approach a little. After all, there weren't many people who could make Zichen careless. Zichen looked at Baiyu. Previously, he was very vigilant and ready to attack at any time. However, Baiyu spoke first. "I have no ill intentions. I just have something to tell you." There was no hostility in the power that spread over. Baiyu asked, "Do you still recognize me? Have we met before?" Zichen asked in confusion. Baiyu sighed. "Back then, everyone said that you had disappeared. I didn't expect you to have fallen." Zichen's heart skipped a beat. "What did you say? You've already forgotten what happened back then?" Baiyu said, "Or rather, what happened in the ancient times?" Zichen's expression changed. After a while, he shook his head and said, "I'm Zichen, just Zichen. I know nothing about the ancient times. A great expert like you is very famous in the spiritual realm. You shouldn't have suddenly disappeared or fallen." Baiyu shook his head and said, "Because back then, everyone said that even if you, Zichen, fell, it was in the great divine infernal war." "Fiend gods?" Zichen asked, "Is there such a tribe?" "The god race and the demon race, referred to as the god race and the demon race." Baiyu explained, "Back then, you were the main force that killed the god fiends." Zichen couldn't remember anything about the ancient times, so he could only listen to Baiyu's narration. The gods and demons are constantly attacking the spirit realm. They seem to want to devour the spirit realm. The battlefield has never stopped. Thinking back to the battle of the past, Baiyu's heart was filled with emotion. "I died in the war of gods and demons, but I don't know how I came back to life. It seems that I didn't die completely." Zichen thought of the demon suppressing gate. There was a powerful Saint Venerable overseeing the place, as well as an even bigger Thunder Clan ancient tree. Could it be that it was those people who blocked the door that resolved the battle? Zichen asked, "Were the battles in ancient times very fierce? So much so that the ancient civilization disappeared, and all the cultivation techniques were lost?" Baiyu said, "The battles weren't that fierce. Although the gods and demons were powerful, our spirit race wasn't weak either. However, the sudden appearance of a celestial phenomenon seemed to have the power to destroy the world. I wasn't able to last until the end, but I guess that the power of the destroyed civilization should be a celestial phenomenon." "What celestial phenomenon?" Zichen asked. Baiyu pointed to the sky and said, "A power from the heavens. It's said that it's a power from outside the three realms." After saying this, Baiyu looked at Zichen with a strange gaze. "What's wrong?" Baiyu said, "There was a rumor back then that you obtained a set of coordinates from outside the three realms and suddenly disappeared to explore it. After the celestial phenomenon appeared, Some people speculated that the gods and demons attacked the spirit realm because they received orders from outside the three realms. The truth of the past had long been lost to history. The current Zichen couldn't remember anything. Of course, it was also possible that Zichen was just Zichen and not the ancient Zichen. Baiyu continued to talk about ancient times, especially about Zichen. In the end, Baiyu shouted, "Don't sleep anymore. You've come back to life, so it's time to wake up." This made Zichen feel very uncomfortable. Because he was just Zichen, with flesh and blood and memories. He had nothing to do with that person from ancient times. If that person came back to life, would his memories be buried? Or rather, would the other party devour him and become another Zichen? Baiyu seemed to be unaware of Zichen's worries and continued, "Although I've only traveled a part of the spirit realm, I've seen many people. They're too weak now. If danger comes again, even without the celestial phenomenon, they'll die a horrible death. From the looks of it, you're the only one who can fight in this vast spirit realm." Asterisk 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 asterisk. Under the nervous gazes of the crowd, Baiyu's light sword finally disappeared. Zichen and Baiyu stood together. Neither of them fell, and the bloody scene they imagined did not appear. For a moment, many people were stunned. "What are you looking at? Didn't I say earlier that I've admitted defeat?" Baiyu looked around and said indifferently, "Do I look like someone who doesn't keep his word?" There was an uproar. It was actually true. But if he really admitted defeat, why did he have to use his light sword to envelop Zichen? Zichen turned to the two girls and said, "Let's go back." After this victory, Zichen also heard many secrets. Zichen's mood was very complicated. As for the lost world, he couldn't go back because he might not be able to come out alive after entering. The two girls nodded and walked towards Zichen. After this incident, they no longer had any attachment to the Holy Moon clan. "Wait!" Yubutian shouted, wanting to stop the two. "Is this the credibility of the Holy Moon clan?" Zichen said coldly, "The outcome has been decided, and you still want to stop people?" Yubutian hurriedly explained, "Brother Zichen, you misunderstood. We didn't mean to threaten you with junior sister, but..." Zichen waved his hand and interrupted Yubutian. "It doesn't matter. From now on, Yu and Mingyu have nothing to do with your Holy Moon clan. Also, how many resources have they consumed over the years? Send someone to give me a list later, and I will compensate them at the original price." Yubutian was stunned. This was not the result he wanted. The two girls soared into the air and left decisively. The surroundings were quiet as everyone watched the development of the situation quietly. This time, the Holy Moon clan had undoubtedly shot themselves in the foot. Not only did they not get resources from Zichen, but they also lost two geniuses. Zichen turned and left. The two girls followed. Wait for me, I will also leave with you." Baiyu's voice sounded. He actually left with Zichen. Yubutian was stunned on the spot, as if he had been petrified. He did not move for a long time. Shangguan Yu and Mingyu had left without getting resources, and even the powerful Baiyu had left with them. This was his last hope for a meritorious service. "Baiyu!" he shouted unwillingly. Baiyu said without turning his head, "I lost, so the deal between us naturally does not count. To be honest, your Holy Moon clan is not open and above board. I am not good at dealing with people like you." Not only did he leave decisively, but he also stabbed the Holy Moon clan in the back. It would not be long before the news spread. "Why are you following me?" Zichen looked back at Baiyu. Baiyu had indeed followed. He did not deliberately get close, nor did he stay too far away. He was neither fast nor slow. "Although the spiritual realm is big, I have nowhere to go, so I can only follow you," Baiyu said, "and you are very famous. Maybe you can attract a lot of old friends." Zichen was very upset because he was not the Zichen of the past. Of course, there were not so many old friends to see. He waved his hand and said, "You are not welcome in my world. Go find someone else." After saying that, he sped up. Seeing Zichen leave decisively, Baiyu was stunned. He wanted to follow Zichen. In his expectation, even if Zichen was not grateful, he should have welcomed him with open arms. What kind of method was this to directly reject him? He was a great expert. Even if he was only at the 7-star realm, he was still the target of many forces. But in Zi Chen's case, he was actually despised. In an instant, Bai Yu thought of many ways to go, but after thinking about it, he still decided to follow Zi Chen. Compared to others, Zi Chen, an old friend, was more trustworthy. So he followed and said, "I won't follow you for nothing. If you need my help, just tell me." Bai Yu sped up to catch up. Clearly, he was determined to follow Zi Chen. Zi Chen tried a few times, but after failing to shake him off, he let him go. He would not go to the lost world. All the situations there were to be dealt with by grace. Returning to his own world, there were no surprises or dangers on the way. The last battle was still brewing. In addition to Bai Yu and Zi Chen's powerful battle strength, the news of the Holy Moon clan using Zi Chen's friends to threaten a fierce battle naturally spread. At the same time, some negative news about Yu Butian also spread. For example, this matter was completely done by him alone and had nothing to do with the Holy Moon clan. In the Holy Glory clan, Brilliant came to the core city and went to find the Holy Glory City Lord to tell him of his intention to leave. The City Lord of Holy Glory City said in shock, "Why are you leaving for no reason?" Brilliant said, "I have been away from home for a long time. I want to go home and have a look." The City Lord said, "Isn't this your home?" Brilliant said, "I was born in the Tianwu continent. That is my home." The City Lord nodded and said, "Wanting to go back and have a look is actually a small matter. I have no reason to stop you. But recently, there has been a lot of negative news. Moreover, your identity is not ordinary, so I need to ask the higher-ups." The City Lord naturally guessed why Brilliant left. It was because he did not want to be the second Shangguan Yue and did not want Zi Chen to be threatened because of him. All right. Brilliant left the City Lord mansion. The Holy Moon clan is really stupid in this matter. After Brilliant left, the City Lord said with a headache. The Holy Moon clan was not calm either. In the end, the Moon Lord was alarmed. The Moon Lord was furious and personally went to the Holy Thunder clan. Chapter 4157. The Holy Moon clan wasn't having a good time. Negative news about them was still fermenting, even though they were deliberately suppressing it. During the last trip to the Lost World, the Holy Moon clan had monitored the entire place and collected high tolls from all those who entered and exited. Naturally, some people felt uncomfortable. Now that the opportunity to hit them while they were down had finally come, they didn't want to miss it. Just like how they targeted Zi Chen before, many groundless rumors spread through various channels. The Holy Moon clan had a taste of the fearful power of gossip. Everyone was furious, but they couldn't stop these rumors. As for clarifying, no one believed it. After Zi Chen returned to his world, he continued to cultivate. He was actually very glad. If he hadn't cultivated with Hall Spirit Su for a period of time and made great progress in his physical body, it would have been difficult for him to be evenly matched with Bai Yu. Bai Yu returned with Zi Chen, but he didn't cultivate. He just wandered around the city every day, eating the city's delicacies and looking at the scenery. On this day, Zi Chen woke up from his cultivation. He had to wake up because a big shot had arrived. After learning who it was, Zi Chen was very surprised. He appeared in the meeting hall. The big shot had already arrived. Walking into the hall, Zi Chen immediately bowed to the slender figure. Zi Chen greets the Moon Master. The person who came was the Moon Master, the most powerful existence of the Holy Moon clan. Her status in the Holy Moon clan was equivalent to Lei Zhengke's status in the Holy Thunder clan. However, what surprised Zi Chen was that the other party was actually a woman. The Moon Master turned around and gently waved her hand, indicating that Zi Chen didn't need to be so polite. She glanced at Zi Chen and found that Zi Chen was weak and tired. Zi Chen raised his head and glanced at the Moon Master, but he couldn't see her face clearly. "I didn't know that the Moon Master was coming. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you. Don't blame me." The Moon Master spoke in a unique voice. "I wonder if the Moon Master has come to the Tianwu world for any instructions?" Zi Chen asked. Inside the main hall, the fragrance of tea wafted in spirals. These were unique and expensive tea leaves that came from a small world. They were very rare, and Jolene had bought them at a high price. They were specially prepared for distinguished guests. The Moon Master, who had introduced herself when she came, was of course an honored guest. Your combat power is not weak, but your ability to play dumb is also top-notch. The Moon Leader sat down. She gently held the teacup and looked at Zi Chen. Zi Chen cupped his fists and said, "Please speak clearly, Moon Master." The Moon Matriarch sized up the teacup in her hand and said, "I know that you were wronged last time. I can understand why you took the 2 moons away out of anger. Today, I will personally bring the 2 of them back." Zi Chen said, "But they don't really want to go back, and compared to the Holy Moon Clan, this place is more suitable for them." This was a direct rejection of a Holy Master. Obviously, Zi Chen was quite bold. The Moon Matriarch did not blame him. She continued, "What you mean by suitable is only suitable for living, not suitable for survival. How are they going to cultivate? Would resources alone be enough? They also need the corresponding inheritance of the moon power. This is something you can't give them." Zi Chen said, "I can't give it to them now, but I can look for it until I find it." The Moon Matriarch laughed. "It seems that you are quite stubborn. If it were any other time, this wouldn't be a problem, but from the looks of it, it seems that you don't have that much time." Zi Chen looked up and asked, "What do you mean, Moon Master? The one who came back with you is called by you, right? He shouldn't be from the current Saint Spirit realm." The Moon Matriarch's words made Zi Chen's expression change drastically. It seemed that no one else knew this secret except for him and Bai Yu. Actually, it's not hard to guess. It's already a miracle that Zi Chen appeared in the Saint Spirit realm. At least your origin is traceable. However, an existence comparable to Zi Chen who appeared out of nowhere is naturally suspicious. The Moon Matriarch said, "The power that can resist the power of the ancient thunder and fire naturally comes from the ancient times." Zi Chen stood there in silence. Bai Yu may be the first ancient expert to awaken, but he definitely won't be the last. Have you thought about the scene of ancient experts walking everywhere many years later? The Moon Matriarch said, "You should know that it's an eternal truth that the peak of prosperity leads to a decline. We have no way of knowing how prosperous the ancient times were, but the destruction of the ancient times has already been recorded in history. Let me ask you, once the ancient experts awaken, will history repeat itself?" Zi Chen was still silent, but his expression had begun to change. "My Holy Moon Clan has a relic left behind from the ancient times. It's an absolute secret of the Moon Clan. There's great danger inside, but it's also accompanied by great opportunities. I intend to let the 2 you go in to cultivate, so I've come to take them away today." Looking at the silent Zi Chen, the Moon Matriarch said, "If you think you have the ability to find a relic that's equally suitable for them, then just pretend that I've never been here. If you agree to let them leave with me, then when I return to the Moon Clan, I'll announce that I've accepted them as in-name disciples. I believe that there won't be any trouble in the future. Actually, what happened last time was a misunderstanding. It wasn't Yu Butian's fault." After returning, Zi Chen had also asked about this matter and guessed who the culprit was. The Moon Matriarch drank the tea that had already turned cold and stood up. "My time is very precious." Zi Chen didn't hesitate and said directly, "This matter still depends on what the 2 of them want." "You should have said that earlier." The Moon Matriarch's figure disappeared into thin air, leaving only a faint fragrance in the hall. Zi Chen turned around and looked out of the hall. He couldn't refuse the Moon Matriarch's words because regardless of whether there would be a great crisis in the future, he hoped that the 2 of them would become stronger. Only when one was strong would there not be many schemes. In the face of absolute power, all schemes and tricks were useless. Zi Chen walked out of the hall and saw the 2 women walking towards him. There was some guilt in the 2 women's eyes. Zi Chen said, "I already know. You 2 can go with the Moon Matriarch. Cultivation in the future is very important, but it's more important to protect yourself well." The 2 women nodded. They had just reunited and had to part again. Because the Moon Matriarch was waiting, the 3 of them didn't even have the last meal and left just like that. Just as the Moon Matriarch brought the 2 women back to the Holy Moon Clan, Brilliant from the Holy Glory clan also received a reply from the core city. She was asked to explore a secret place and go immediately. At the same time, in other forces, Zichen's friends and many holy spirits with excellent aptitudes also received the opportunity to cultivate in the core secret place. It seemed that all the forces could vaguely see the future through Bai Yu's identity. The Holy Moon clan announced that the Moon Matriarch had accepted 2 nominal disciples, which also caused a considerable uproar. As for the culprit, Yu Buhui, although he didn't die, he was severely punished. Yu Butian was also punished. Because of this matter, the forces of their lineage were somewhat affected. All the major forces seemed to have quietened down overnight. The entire Holy Spirit realm seemed to have become peaceful. Chapter 4158. Qingyi appeared from the Sacred Talisman Palace. After greeting her, Fu Lao arranged for a Sacred Talisman Master to bring her to Zichen. The teleportation arrays on both sides had already begun construction. This time, Qingyi came here to check on the progress. Of course, she also had the intention to play. On this day, Zichen happened to come out from Lei Yu's place. The resources of the Lost World were being effectively excavated. Grace and those core members had arranged everything well. Zichen, who was still the leader, could already get a considerable share. When he was about to walk to the teleportation array, Zichen saw Qingyi. "Why are you here?" "I came to see how your progress is." Zichen expressed his gratitude to the Sacred Talisman Master who led the way, and then personally brought Qingyi to his own world. Along the way, no one came forward to question them. Zichen briefly informed her of the progress. Qingyi listened absent-mindedly and finally said, "This time, I should be staying here for a long time. Can you accompany me for a walk?" Zichen shook his head and said, "I'm afraid not. I still have to cultivate." "Cultivate?" Qingyi tilted her head and sized up Zichen. "I still have a lot of room for improvement, so I've been cultivating during this period," Zichen said very seriously. At this moment, a voice suddenly sounded in his sea of consciousness. It was the Hall Spirit Su. "You don't have to stay in the world to cultivate. As long as you bring His Highness Zichen with you, you can cultivate anywhere." Zichen suddenly hesitated. Qingyi asked, "What's wrong?" Zichen said, "I thought about it and decided to cultivate while walking. There shouldn't be any problems." Qingyi snorted and said, "You can't bear to part with a beauty like me, right? You must be secretly happy. Others want this opportunity but don't have it." Zichen followed him, and said, "Can I decide on the route?" Qingyi asked, "If you don't decide, should I decide?" Zichen was relieved. Next, he wanted to see those friends he hadn't seen in a long time. Zichen gave the resources he obtained to Jolina. During this period of time, there were dragon chi, other crystals, and some decent quality soul weapons. The Tianwu world had already attracted a lot of forces, and its popularity had long surpassed what it used to be. Therefore, Zichen listened to Jolina's suggestion and held a high-profile auction at this time to try and attract more popularity. Jolina would handle the auction, so there was no need for Zichen, the leader, to step in. Right now, Zichen's fame in the Holy Thunder clan was already big enough. Jolina could borrow Zichen's fame. What Zichen really wanted to do was to provide the corresponding resources. Originally, Zichen didn't want to go out. However, since Qingyi requested and he had plans to see his friends, he needed to bring more resources with him. For example, the Holy Thunder clan's dragon chi and rare resources like soul life crystals. Therefore, on the second day, he went to the lightning shelter again. This time, he took more resources. Although there were some twists and turns in the process, fortunately, no one deliberately made things difficult for him. After returning to the Tianwu continent, Zichen walked to his room and entered the Zichen Hall. The hall spirit, Su, sat there drinking tea. Even Zichen couldn't understand her current state. Was she a spirit? Or did she really exist? The hall spirit glanced at Zichen and said, "You're going to see your friends. Why don't you look happy at all? Is there something on your mind?" Zichen shook his head. The hall spirit immediately became interested. "Hurry up and tell me. Maybe I can enlighten you. In the past, You acted arbitrarily and rarely listened to the advice of others. Chen sat in front of the hall spirit and asked, "Who do you think I am?" The hall spirit rolled her eyes. "Is your brain broken? Have you forgotten who you are?" Chen said, "I know I'm Chen. However, I'm not the Chen in your eyes." The hall spirit saw Chen's worry and said, "So what are you worried about?" Chen sighed and said, "I'm worried that one day, I'll become the Chen in your eyes. At that time, I might no longer exist and I won't know my friends." "How is that possible?" The hall spirit said, "No matter what, you'll always be Chen." Chen shook his head. "It's not the same. I can make the decision now. However, when the Chen you know wakes up, my consciousness might be swallowed up. At that time, I'll disappear from the world. That Chen will live with my memories, but that won't be me anymore." The hall spirit said, "You're not big, but you think a lot. I know you're good to me because I'm Chen. At first, I was wondering why the Lei Di and Lei Zhengke sacred clans would personally bring me back to the Lei clan and treat me so well. Now I know it's because of the Chen you know." Chen looked into the hall spirit's eyes and said, "I know you're all waiting for Chen to return. Just like the resurrected by you, with complete memories." This time, the hall spirit didn't speak for a long time. She looked at Chen and seemed to be seriously thinking about Chen's words. Chen sat there dejectedly. He didn't want to think about this question, but after seeing Bai Yu and hearing the Moon Master's words, he couldn't help but think about it. Was the current him real or not? After a while, the hall spirit said, "Actually, I'm not too sure what you'll be like in the future. I've never thought about it, and the fallen Chen didn't tell me anything. What I can do now is to make you stronger. Perhaps I can't make you stronger, but at least you'll be as strong as you were in the past. However, whether you're the current Chen or the Chen of the past, it's all the same to me." "Is it the same?" "Of course it's the same. In my eyes, you're Chen. Moreover, you're a Chen with a good personality. It's like a person's personality suddenly changed." Looking at the still confused Chen, the hall spirit said, "You're you. Even if you awaken your memories in the future, you'll still be you. In other words, you'll become the you with distant memories. The reason why Lei Di helped you unconditionally should be the same as me. He only wants to see you grow. As for what kind of person you'll become in the future, it'll all depend on you." The hall spirit snapped her fingers and said, "If you think about those useless problems now, it'll only add to your troubles. What you should care about the most right now is how to make yourself stronger." The Moon Master's words were right. Bai Yu might be the first to awaken, but he definitely won't be the last. A great upheaval may come. Before that, you must become stronger. Chapter 4159. In this battle, Chen had been absent-minded at the beginning and had been badly abused. He could not afford to be distracted, so he could only fight with all his might. In the end, he was still defeated. This armored existence was unimaginably strong. No matter how much Chen grew, he could not defeat him. A battle that was comparable to life and death made Chen's heart completely calm down. If he had faced an enemy today, he would not have a tomorrow. So, it was good to be alive. Why worry about the future? After the defeated Chen refined a few strands of energy, he could already walk, but he was very weak. Just like when the Moon Master first saw him, his face was pale and his aura was weak. You can play with the beauties during the day and fight and recover at night. This way, you won't have to worry too much and will grow faster. Hall Spirit Su teased, "Just from this point alone, you are much stronger than Blockhead from back then." Chen nodded. It seemed that this was the only way. As for the last sentence, he pretended not to hear it. After leaving the Chen hall and the room, Chen went to find Jolina and asked for a portion of the Holy Lightning Demon Bone. The first place he wanted to go was the monks of the Buddhist region. After that, he would take a detour and visit all his friends one by one. With the resources, Chen and Qingyi set off the next day. Because they were not in a hurry, the two took a flying ship and traveled through the star domains. Once they reached a certain star domain, they would enter a city. The discussion about Chen was still going on, and it was everywhere. Now, Zi Chen was the undisputed number one person in the same realm, and he did not accept any rebuttals. There were even some rumors that said that even the 7-star Zi Chen was the number one person below the Holy Venerate. However, this rumor was not firm, and there were many rebuttals. It seems that your fame is not only great in our world, but also here, Qingyi said with a smile as the two of them walked out of a restaurant. She had been to many places, and there were discussions about Zi Chen everywhere. I was forced. Zi Chen said helplessly. If he could survive, he wouldn't want to become so famous. Fortunately, there were quite a few people who knew his name, but there were only a few who truly knew him. Therefore, as the two of them walked, they did not cause any sort of disturbance. Qingyi glanced at Zi Chen and said, "You are very famous, but it's a pity that your cultivation level is too low. It doesn't match your fame." Zi Chen was currently a 7-star Holy Spirit. In fact, this level was not low. In some remote star regions, a 1-star Holy Spirit was a king-like existence. But compared to Qingyi, Zi Chen's cultivation level was not enough to look at. What is your current realm? A 9-star Holy Spirit? Zi Chen asked. Sort of. Qingyi said, in this world, it is equivalent to your 9 stars, but in our world, it is comparable to the Saint Venerable. Of course, this is because your world is big enough, and there are no unified rules. After our people arrive, we can also try to strengthen our physical bodies. The two of them left the city and traversed thousands of mountains and rivers. Every planet was equivalent to a world, and there were countless living beings in each world. Only after Qingyi experienced it did she understand how vast the Saint Spirit world was. In the eyes of everyone in the Saint Spirit world, the Holy Talisman realm was merely a training ground, equivalent to a planet. But this planet was everything in the eyes of everyone in the Holy Talisman realm. And in the Saint Spirit world, there were countless planets like this. Qingyi sighed with admiration at how vast the world was. Zi Chen was also sighing with admiration. There were countless secrets and resources in this world. The Buddhist region was actually very far away from the Holy Thunder clan. The reason why Zi Chen chose the Buddhist region as his first stop was because the transportation there was very convenient. There would often be teleportation arrays there. Although the Buddhist region was mysterious, that was only limited to the people of the Buddhist region. Actually, outside the Buddhist region, there were many people and it was extremely lively. Many major powers had camps here. Because the Buddhist region fought with the devil race all year round, there were many valuable resources here. Zi Chen and Qingyi arrived outside the Buddhist region. This was the outer city of the Buddhist region, and if they wanted to enter the inner city, they would need to stay in the outer city for one more day. The inner city of the Buddhist region was only open for 24 hours a day, and there was a detailed record of people entering and leaving. It was said that this was to prevent devil race spies from sneaking in. As for where the devil race spies came from, no one knew. In short, the Buddhist region was the most cautious of all the major powers in the Saint Spirit world. Zi Chen and Qingyi went to the nearest place to get their identity tokens. Of course, these tokens weren't given for free. They had to be purchased with Saint crystals. After getting their tokens, they had to wait until the city gates opened the next day before they could enter. The two of them didn't immediately return to the inn, but wandered around the city. Qingyi was very curious about the things here and bought some small things, saying that she wanted to take them back. The one who paid was naturally Zi Chen. The small things here could protect one's safety. It was said that they were all brought out from the Buddhist city, and all of them were consecrated. It was rare to see them in other star fields, but in the Buddhist region, there were many of them. On the way back to the inn, Qingyi held these small things in her hands, feeling very happy. Zi Chen saw the smile on her face and didn't want to discourage her. Although these things weren't expensive, they weren't worth it. The so-called protection was just that evil energy couldn't enter one's body. But what was Qingyi's realm? He saw through it but didn't say it out loud. Qingyi glanced at Zi Chen and said, "What's wrong? Do you have something to say?" Zi Chen said, "Very good. You have good taste." Qingyi smiled proudly. The two of them walked side by side. The handsome Zi Chen and Qingyi's beautiful appearance attracted some gazes. A monk walked towards them and stopped in front of them. He immediately handed over an ancient-looking pendant. Amitabha, it's fate that we meet. I'll give the female benefactor a protective bodhisattva that can ensure the female benefactor's safety. The ancient pendant was a wooden carving of a arhat. It was handed to Qing Yi. Qing Yi had never seen such a scene before. She subconsciously took it and hurriedly said, "Thank you, thank you." The monk said, "This protective arhat is extraordinary. It can protect the benefactor's safety. You can wear it without worry." "Thank you, benefactor." Qing Yi thanked him again. She took the wooden carving in her hand and walked forward. Unexpectedly, at this moment, the monk said, "Benefactor, please walk slowly. Can you do some good deeds for the renovation of the temple?" He opened his pocket and there was a piece of sacred crystal inside. Qing Yi was slightly stunned. She didn't understand what he meant. Zichen saw this and said, "You want money? Benefactor, you're too serious. I just hope that the beautiful benefactor can do some good deeds. A little bit of goodwill is enough." The monk put his palms together and looked at Zichen. "I wish the two immortal lovers peace." Zichen was amused. "A monk also believes in immortals." Qing Yi also smiled and said with satisfaction, "Pay up." After saying that, she walked forward. Obviously, she had no intention of returning the wooden carving. Zichen could only take out a piece of sacred crystal and hand it to the monk. The monk put his palms together and smiled at Zichen. "Thank you, benefactor." Chapter 4160. After walking for about 100 feet, the faint ancient aura on the wooden carving disappeared. The wooden carving that could protect one's safety became ordinary. Seeing this, Zichen couldn't help but say, "You don't even take the fraud seriously. You're really making a lot of money. Where are your professional ethics?" Qing Yi turned around and said, "Since you know it's a fraud, why don't you let me return it?" Zichen said, "You have to return it first. Look at how many of them there are here. If you leave, maybe others will come." Qing Yi glanced around casually. Of course, she didn't use her eyes. She saw the whole city. Similar monks, similar words, similar actions. Since this is the Buddhist city, why don't those people care? Qing Yi asked curiously. "I don't know." The two returned to the inn. After eating something, they decided to go to the Buddhist city the next day to find the monks. Back in the room, Zichen entered the Zichen hall again. After a day of wandering, it was time to cultivate again. It was still in existence wearing battle armor. Su the hall spirit had said that there were a total of 9 such existences. When Zichen could fight against 9 by himself, that would be when his cultivation of the physical body would come to an end. Zichen could only fight 1 against 1. The next morning, Zichen washed up and felt very tired. Qing Yi was used to it. The two checked out and followed the others to the Buddhist city. There were many people going in and there was a long line. Zichen was lucky enough to see the monk from yesterday in the crowd. The monk also saw Zichen and bowed to Zichen from afar. Zichen put his palms together and bowed back. Are they going to the Buddhist city too? Are they going to buy goods? Qing Yi was in a good mood to enter the Buddhist city. Zichen's gaze shifted away from the monks. There were still some monks in his line of sight. Perhaps. In fact, these people were not real monks. At least, they were not from the Buddhist tribe. People there didn't need to line up and there were other ways to go in. If Zichen had introduced himself, he could have entered as well. However, it was his first time here and he wasn't in a rush, so he didn't want to trouble everyone. When they entered, there was a preliminary inspection. All they had to do was hold the tablet in their hands properly. There were soldier monks from the Buddhist race keeping watch. They wore battle armor and swept their gazes over everyone. The two entered the Buddhist city and truly experienced the many cultures of Buddhism. There were various Buddhist temples in the Buddhist city, and inside these temples, there were many Buddhas worshipping one after another. During this period of time, there were also shops and countless pedestrians. This place was even more bustling than the outside world. True Buddhist monks could be seen everywhere. They would not give out wooden carvings every time they saw someone. Zichen paid special attention to the monks who entered this place. They had completely restrained themselves and were no longer expanding their business. They spread out and did not head in the same direction. It was unknown whether it was because they had different supply channels. Buddhist incense wafted in the air, and Buddhist light shone everywhere. This was what a Buddhist city should look like. Are we going to find your friend directly? Qingyi stood on the street and looked curiously at the open halls one after another. Zichen smiled and said, "There's no rush. Let's walk around here first." Qingyi naturally had no objections. In fact, she was already impatient. She quickly walked into a Buddhist hall. There were 3 different statues of Buddhas enshrined in the hall. The atmosphere of the hall was solemn, and there were rows of small statues of Buddhas around. They were equally extraordinary. Zichen followed behind Qingyi and also looked at these lifelike Buddhas. They seemed to be cast with real bodies. They were in a myriad of forms. The surroundings were filled with pure Buddhist power. After entering this place, people would have the urge to worship. Amazing. It can affect people's souls without them noticing. Qingyi clicked her tongue and said, "It seems that the good side of human nature is awakened here. It actually has the feeling of bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind." Zichen also had this feeling. In the past, Zichen even learned the 6-syllable Sanskrit mantra, but he completely abandoned it in the end. He did not like this feeling, especially the feeling of his soul being affected. After walking out of the hall, Qingyi went to the second hall, and then the third. The Buddhas here all looked the same, but Qingyi looked at them with great interest and was very serious. In this way, in this day, she had visited almost 1/10 of the halls. If it were not for the night, she would have walked around. It was already so late, and it did not seem appropriate to look for a monk. Zichen planned to look for one the next morning. Now, the 2 of them needed to find a place to stay. Along the way, Qingyi seemed to be deep in thought. After finding an inn, according to Zichen's original plan, he, who had recovered for a day, needed to cultivate. However, Qingyi had no intention of leaving, so Zichen could only sit there. Qingyi said, "This Buddhist city is really extraordinary." Zichen nodded in agreement. There is no war at the moment. Once there is a war, those Buddhas will naturally awaken. Whether they are real bodies or not, they will have a strong combat power. This was what Zichen had sensed early on. The surging Buddhist power made those Buddhas look like ancient Buddhas who had passed away and could be resurrected at any time. Zichen could imagine the scene once the Buddhist city encountered a great crisis. There would definitely be Buddhas appearing one after another, and the Buddhist light would illuminate the entire city, eliminating evil. Our people are good at soul power. If we can master their method, I believe the city we build will be more magnificent than this Buddhist city, Qingyi said. This is the secret of the Buddhist clan. You'd better not think about it. Be careful that the 2 of us can't get out. Zichen pointed outside the door. Moreover, you didn't create a barrier when you spoke. Maybe the Buddhas have already heard your words. Qingyi complained, "Why didn't you remind me earlier?" Suddenly, there was a commotion outside the inn. Something seemed to have happened. In just a moment, the entire street was in chaos, and in the end, the entire city was affected. There was a big change in the Buddhist city. Many monk soldiers patrolled the streets with vigilant expressions, cleaning the streets until there was no one left. There is something interesting to watch. Let's go and take a look. Qingyi sensed the abnormality outside. You go, I still need to cultivate. Zichen rejected the other party's suggestion. At this moment, the door was suddenly forced open, but there was no one outside. The opened door was closed again, and then a hidden figure appeared. It was a monk. Coincidentally, it was the one Zichen met twice. Zichen said, "What's wrong? Are you here to do business again?" The monk turned around. After seeing Zichen and Qingyi, he seemed a little surprised. Then, he said with a smile, "I am very grateful for your help." Zichen asked, "How can I help?" "No, nothing." The monk put his palms together and bowed to the 2. Then, his figure disappeared and hid again. Chapter 4161. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. Some soldier monks appeared outside. The sound was urgent. "Come in." Zichen's voice sounded. The door opened and 5 soldiers entered. The others went to another room that had been opened. After the 5 of them came in, the first thing they did was to put their palms together and apologize to Zichen. Amitabha, there are thieves who have disturbed the Buddha city and came to disturb us. Please forgive us. Zichen nodded and smiled. It's okay. I wonder if the 2 of you have seen any outsiders coming in? The leading soldier monk asked. No. Zichen shook his head. Sorry. The leading soldier monk put his palms together again. Just as Zichen guessed that the other party was about to leave, he suddenly saw the man take out a shining Buddhist bead. It was much bigger than an ordinary Buddhist bead. It shone brightly and had pure Buddhist power. Zichen quickly realized that it was not a Buddhist bead but a relic. The soldier monk apologized again and then activated the rare relic. The relic slowly flew up and released a real light in the air. It was like a net of light that covered the surroundings. The 5 carefully observed the changes in the net of light. After 3 breaths, the relic retracted its light and fell back into the soldier monk's hands. Sorry for disturbing you. The 5 bowed to Zichen again and then left the room. They closed the door for Zichen and went to the next room. Qingyi looked at Zichen in confusion. Logically, Zichen had friends in this place. He should have helped these monks. Why was he willing to help a stranger? After the 5 soldier monks left, the monk from before appeared. He immediately cupped his fists and thanked the 2 of them. Zichen said, "No need to thank me. Take out the thing you stole." What? The monk was stunned. Zichen smiled and said, "I really want to know what they've lost with such a big fuss." The monk's expression changed. "Are you trying to take advantage of us?" Zichen explained, "I'm just taking a look. If it's something unimportant, you can take it. But if it's something important, I'll have to trouble you to keep it. I'll return it to the Buddha later. As for you, you can leave safely." You. A trace of mockery appeared in the eyes of the monks. Zichen said, "Do you want to try? You're courting death." Cold light flashed in the eyes of the monks, and they immediately charged at Zichen. The aura around him surged in an instant, and he became a 6-star holy spirit. However, this level of cultivation was clearly insufficient in front of Zichen. Just as the monks were about to touch the corner of Zichen's clothes, Zichen grabbed their heads. If he exerted force with his 5 fingers, his opponent's head would explode in an instant. There was a look of shock in the eyes of the monks. Footsteps immediately came from outside the door. The soldier monks who were still next door had returned. There was a look of surprise in Zichen's eyes. Earlier, he had already used his power to cover the surroundings. He did not expect that the moment the monk attacked, he would break the barrier first. Was he not afraid of being discovered? This time, the soldier monks did not knock on the door. Instead, they rushed in and saw the scene before them. "Master, save me. It's him. He ordered me to do this. Now he wants to kill me." The monk who came from nowhere immediately cried for help when he saw the 5 soldier monks. "Benefactor, what do you mean?" The soldier monk leader looked at Zichen impolitely. Qingyi stood aside and watched the show. She thought it was quite fun. Rays of light flashed as more soldier monks came. In a short while, the place was completely surrounded. Zichen, who was still holding the monk's head, turned around and said, "If I say that he's lying and that we don't know each other, would you believe me?" The soldier monk leader hesitated. The monk shouted, "He's lying. If he doesn't know me, why did he cover for me? I was in this room before, and he was the one who helped me hide from your detection. So you've been waiting for me here." Zichen chuckled. The soldier monk leader said, "In that case, the 3 of you will come with me. Let's go." Qingyi was the first to nod. The soldier monk leader did not understand, so he took the 3 of them and left. Zichen let go of the monk. He was not afraid that the monk would run away. At this moment, there were soldier monks all around, and there were powerful existences hiding in the dark. In this Buddhist city, there was no city lord, only the abbot. He was in the largest Buddhist hall. There were 108 ancient Buddhas enshrined here. Each of them looked like an ancient Buddha that had passed away. Zichen and the other 2 were brought here. The abbot looked at them and said, I wonder if the three benefactors can return the thing of the Buddhist clan? The monk from before pointed at Chen and said, It's him. He ordered us to do this. Now he wants to kill me. The thing is on him. After I gave it to him, he turned hostile. Amitabha. Good, good. The abbot put his palms together and looked at Chen. Benefactor, what do you have to say? Chen smiled. If I say that he made this up, would you believe me? The abbot said, yes or no. Qingyi asked, your words are very interesting. Do you believe it or not? The abbot said, of course, I believe you, but this matter is very important. It may affect the life and death of the Buddhist clan, so I don't dare to say anything. Chen nodded and said, I see. I'm here to find a friend. This is my identity card. You can take a look and know whether to believe me or not. Chen took out his identity card. It was the one he bought with Saint crystals. When Chen handed it out, it was upside down, so no one saw the name on it. The abbot took it with both hands and carefully turned it to the other side. He saw the name on it. His expression couldn't help but change, and the way he looked at Chen also changed. I believe that in this world, no one would impersonate this name. Chen said, I have nothing to do recently, so I came to see an old friend. The abbot nodded and handed the identity card back to Chen with both hands. It was still upside down. The thief monk suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. Chen glanced at him and smiled faintly, as if to say, look, you picked the wrong person. Men, take him away and interrogate him carefully, the abbot said. Immediately, the monk soldiers took the thief away. The thief kept looking at Chen with hatred in his eyes. In the blink of an eye, only Chen and the other two were left in the hall. The abbot said, Benefactor, please wait for a moment. We will immediately send a message to the inner area. Thank you. The two of them stayed in the hall, and the abbot sat with them. After looking at all the Buddha statues, Qingyi was a little bored, so she asked, what did you lose? Why did you mobilize so many people? This was obviously a secret, but after looking at Chen, the abbot still said, a bone-grinding relic. Bone-grinding relic? What is that? Chen was stunned. Only Buddhist cultivators had relics. He had never heard of demonic bone relics. The abbot sighed and said, it's a long story. Chapter 4162. Evil Good and Evil walked in. His face was oily, and he had a big belly and big ears. He grinned and didn't look like a monk, but more like a cunning merchant. You damn baldy. Chen stepped forward with a smile and gave the monk a hug. The abbot stood at the side and said, Amitabha. After the hug, Evil Good and Evil looked at Qingyi and said, is this the new girl I met? Not bad, your luck with women is only a little worse than Lord Zeng's. If it weren't for Lord Zeng's devotion to Buddhism and ignoring the mortal world, you would have taken advantage of me. Who knows how many girls in the world would fall in love with Lord Zeng? Qingyi felt like she was looking at a weirdo. Don't talk nonsense. She's my friend, Qingyi. We're partners. Chen introduced, Qingyi, this is Evil Good and Evil Good. Evil Good and Evil sighed and said, let's go, I'll take you to Lord Zeng's territory. Then he bowed to the abbot and said goodbye. His etiquette was good. After the three left, a soldier monk in charge of security came to the main hall and said in a low voice, we've asked around. The item is with that person. Oh, are you sure? There was surprise in the abbot's eyes. The soldier monk said, we've tried all kinds of methods, and the person who came said so. The abbot was puzzled. How is that possible? They knew who Chen was. He was the strongest person in the same realm, and he was also a friend of Evil Good and Evil. Last time, the Buddhist domain spoke up for Chen, saying that they believed in Chen's character. How could this incident be related to Chen? However, their people couldn't be lying. What was going on? I understand. You may leave. After thinking about it, the abbot decided to take a look himself. Asterisk 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 asterisk. There are many good things in the Buddhist domain, but most of them aren't suitable for you. Otherwise, I could send some to you. On the way to the monk's residence, Evil Good monk patted Chen's shoulder and said with a smile, Thank you for all these years. Zi Chen had instructed Jolina to send some cultivation resources to everyone every once in a while, and this had never stopped for many years. At least you still have some conscience. Zi Chen smiled. Fortunately, you came early. If you came later, I would have had to go into seclusion for a long time. The good and evil monk said, we have heard about Yuer's matter. They were afraid that I would be oversensitive, so they told me early on that I would be going to a Buddhist mystic ground to cultivate. Furthermore, it was passed down from ancient times, so there should be ancient Buddhist power inside. It is said that it is not weaker than your ancient lightning flame power. How do you think Lord Zeng will refuse a power that is even stronger than the power of thunder and fire? After talking about his recent situation, Tyrant did not ask about Zi Chen's recent situation. Because there was no need to ask, all kinds of news were everywhere. In the end, evil good monk sighed and said, actually, the people of the Buddhist domain are quite miserable. They are constantly fighting the demons, and no one knows the true casualties. During this time, they have to be on guard against the erosion of demonic power and problems in the rear. Zi Chen was puzzled and asked, is there a passage to the demon domain here? Tyrant shook his head and said, no. If there really is a passage, there is no way to guard it. It is said that it is a relatively weak area in space. Demons often mistakenly enter this place, and there are many of them. And in this world, there are always hidden demons. They are no different from other holy spirits, but they always want to open a gap here and let the demons in. Tyrant said, I heard that the city is in chaos again today. This kind of thing happens often, so there is no need to make a fuss. While the two of them were conversing, Qingyi was looking around curiously. This was the core of the Buddhist domain, and ordinary people could not enter. Along the way, there were often soldier monks, but when they saw the three of them, they immediately stopped and bowed. Of course, this was not to say that they were polite, but it was out of respect for Evil Good Monk. Evil Good Monk brought the two of them to see the various Buddhist halls. These halls were an eye-opener for Qingyi. There were many Buddhas inside, and their auras were more powerful. These Buddhas were one of the foundations of the Buddhist domain. Once a great danger appeared, these Buddhas would appear. Qingyi was very curious. She asked Tyrant how these Buddhas were made, and Tyrant gave a simple explanation. These were all existences with great power. They were made by the Buddhist domain's unique cloning technique, as well as Buddhist power and Buddhist formation. Each Buddhist hall was an independent Buddhist formation, and when the many Buddhist halls were linked together, they formed a lotus formation with boundless killing power. These things were unique to the Buddhist domain. Tyrant could talk about it, but he would not teach them. Qingyi was a little regretful. It is late, you two should rest first. We will talk about it tomorrow. After bringing the two of them to their residence and chatting with Zi Chen for a while, Tyrant said goodbye and left. Actually, Tyrant planned to chat with Zi Chen through the night. They had not seen each other for a long time, and they had endless things to talk about. However, he received news that something big had happened in the city, and he needed to discuss it with him. When Tyrant arrived at the core Buddhist hall, almost all the people in charge were there, and they looked solemn. Tyrant's heart skipped a beat. Did something big really happen? The only one standing there was the outer city's abbot. When he saw Tyrant enter, he put his palms together and bowed. Tyrant returned the bow and asked, what happened? The abbot said with shame, the demonic bone Sarira is lost. What? Tyrant's expression changed. How could such an important thing be lost? Have you found it? The abbot said, we have caught the thief, but he told us that the bone-grinding Sarira is with Zi Chen. Bullshit, bullshit. Tyrant said angrily, Zi Chen just came to the city to find me today. How could it be him? Do you all believe it? This was the first time the outer city's abbot saw this side of Tyrant. He had heard that Tyrant would curse without caring about his image, but he had never seen it before. The others were silent and did not express their opinions. Tyrant took in everyone's expressions, and his expression changed again. He said, so you all also believe that this was done by Zi Chen? Good and evil, you misunderstood. Sitting at the end of the table, Monk Shungjue said, it has been confirmed that the thing is with Zi Chen, but no one said that Zi Chen did it. The demon race has endless means, and I believe that even Zi Chen does not know that he has the bone-grinding Surya. Chapter 4163. The monk showed extreme confidence. This came from his confidence in Zi Chen. When the others heard this, they all thought about it in silence. But when they thought about it carefully, it seemed to make sense. If even Zi Chen couldn't protect the bone-grinding relic, who below the Holy Venerable could protect it? If it's really on Zi Chen, we don't need to worry. But now even Zi Chen himself doesn't know how they put it on him. Obviously, he doesn't know how they took it away. The abbot said. What he said was not unreasonable. The monk said, I know what I'm doing. All right, let's disperse. After that, the monk left. The others looked at each other, especially the abbot, who didn't know what to do. Those who were qualified to sit here all closed their eyes, as if they were asleep. In the end, only Sheng Ju said, We'll deal with this. The abbot was relieved. No matter what happened next, he was not responsible. That night, the monk didn't look for Zi Chen again. Instead, he waited until the next day. What did you do last night? Seeing that Zi Chen was so weak when he opened the door, the monk's expression changed. Then, he quietly looked around. There was no one else. He had arranged 2 rooms for him last night. Get lost. Zi Chen said angrily, I'm cultivating. The monk gave him a thumbs up and praised, You're already the first person, but you're still so hardworking. I admire you. Qingyi should not have woken up yet. The monk entered Zi Chen's room. After sitting down, he said, You're in trouble. Zi Chen was slightly startled. Then, he said, What happened yesterday? The monk nodded. Our people found out that the missing bone-grinding relic is on you. Zi Chen asked, You think so too? The monk nodded again. According to the information we found out, the other party shouldn't be lying. Zi Chen said, Could it be a misunderstanding? It can't be so coincidental that we were targeted as soon as we arrived here, right? The monk said, It's possible, so you'd better carefully sense your own situation and see if there's anything unusual. From the beginning to the end, Tyrant had never said that he believed that Zi Chen was innocent, because there was no need to say it. Zi Chen did not explain because there was no need to. Zi Chen carefully sensed his body's condition over and over again, but he didn't discover anything. He opened his eyes and said, Could it be that we were misled and that they had already changed hands? The monk said, It's not impossible. Those guys are very cunning. I'll get someone to investigate carefully. Zi Chen asked, What's the deal with the bone-grinding relics? These two don't seem to be related at all, right? Tyrant sighed and said, Fighting the devil race is risky because the devil race's soul is very unique and very powerful. Tyrant suddenly looked at Zi Chen and asked, Among the 3 races, which race do you think has the strongest soul? Zi Chen thought for a moment and said, It should be about the same, right? Tyrant said again, There's always a stronger one. Just make a guess. Zi Chen said, Then it's the god race. The god race's soul is stronger. I think the devil race's body should be stronger relatively. Zi Chen had dealt with the devil race before and had killed a real devil race member, so he gave the answer. Tyrant said, This is what most people know, but it's wrong. The devil race's body is indeed very strong, but their devil soul is even stronger. The spirit race, the devil race, and the god race have their own strengths. The spirit race is good at spiritual power, the god race has a strong body, and the devil race's devil soul is unparalleled. Speaking of this, he continued the previous topic. The devil race's devil soul is very strong, so when fighting, it will often affect the soul of the Buddha race and arouse the inner devil. Some powerful figures are not afraid of the inner devil and can even break through to another level by cutting the inner devil. However, some can't do it and are swallowed by the inner devil. The reason why the bone-grinding Sarira appears is that although the powerful figures of the Buddha race who have succeeded in cultivation did not kill the inner devil, they suppressed it. However, in the process of growth, if the inner devil is not eliminated, it will slowly erode the body. In the end, the Sarira that is condensed will contain the aura of the devil race. At the same time, it is also called the devil bone Sarira. The bone-grinding Sarira not only has the magical power of a normal Sarira, but also contains the aura of the devil chi. If someone with a mind to get it, they can open a passage to the devil race. Tyrant finally said, there are at least 10 powerful figures who can condense the bone-grinding Sarira in the Buddha prison. Zi Chen's expression changed. He said, in that case, why don't you destroy the devil bone Sarira? Tyrant said helplessly, this is the strength of the devil soul. It can't be destroyed at all. It can only be properly stored, because every time it is broken, it can be repaired. Zi Chen felt very sorry for the encounter of those powerful figures. At present, he couldn't even find the bone-grinding Sarira on his body. Naturally, he couldn't help others. After a while, Qingyi came. She also helped to search, but she also couldn't find it. Then don't worry about it. Let's go. Today, I'll take you to see some of the resources in the Buddhist realm. Walking in the Buddhist realm, there was surging Buddhist power everywhere. Tyrant took the two to see a few mineral veins. During this time, Zi Chen took out the resources he brought. The Holy Thunder Devil Bone had always been in short supply in the Buddhist realm. It was very popular. Not long after Zi Chen took out these resources, a powerful figure personally came to thank him. He even made an exception and let the two of them go to the battlefield to take a look. These Holy Thunder Devil Bones were given to the Buddhist realm by Zi Chen. After all, Tyrant didn't do business. As for the other resources, they were given to Tyrant himself. Among them was the energy that Zi Chen was refining as he cultivated. It could strengthen his body. The battlefield in the Buddhist realm was a secret. It was a dangerous place, but it was also a place of opportunity. The resources obtained after killing demons could be exchanged for cultivation resources by the monks. Moreover, they could also earn merits. I've been here a total of 3 times. 2 were lightly injured, and 1 was heavily injured. After entering, the higher your cultivation, the higher the chance of dying. Tyrant explained as they walked. Also, there are some demons and insects that somehow got here. They're very difficult to deal with. The spatial entrance to the battlefield was a spatial tunnel. Outside the tunnel were 8 holy spirits guarding it. At the same time, there were 18 Buddha statues lined up on both sides. There were also some powerful figures in the dark. It could be said that this tunnel alone was heavily guarded. Other monks entered and exited at the entrance. They wore battle armor and carried weapons. They entered with confidence, but almost all of them came out with injuries. The 4 of them walked towards the battlefield. Clearly, they wanted to go in and take a look. At this moment, there was some commotion in front of them. A monk covered in blood staggered out. Black veins protruded from his forehead like tiny black snakes. The others noticed the abnormality and cried out in alarm. Some retreated to avoid it, while others went forward to investigate the situation. Retreat quickly. That's a demon leech. Don't get close to him. Chapter 4164. His voice seemed to have enlightened them, but it was also like a soul power attack. Those people were stunned, and after a brief moment of absent-mindedness, they immediately retreated. The demon leech was a creature from the demon race. Not many people in the saint spirit world knew about it, but in the Buddhist domain, everyone's expression changed at the mention of it. It was a creature that could absorb soul power. Not only did it grow stronger by absorbing soul power, but it could also reproduce in the process. Their true strength was not strong. As long as they were discovered, even a 1-star holy spirit could be killed effortlessly. The truly terrifying part was that if they accidentally entered the body, there was almost no chance of survival. Once someone was hit, they could only watch as the other person died quietly. If someone else went forward and came into physical contact, the demon leech would instantly burrow into the other person's body. At close range, there was no way to defend against it. The demon leech did not have a cultivation level. Before it entered the body, it could be said to be the weakest creature. But once it came into contact with the body, its lethality was even more terrifying than that of the Buddhist race's powerhouses. This was the experience of the Buddhist race after countless casualties. Just as that powerhouse went forward, the monk explained the use of the demon leech to Zi Chen and Qingyi. That means the demon leech is almost invincible? Qingyi asked, puzzled. The monk sighed, you can say that. Perhaps only a holy venerate can deal with it. Zichen looked forward. After that powerhouse went forward, he did not go to save people. Instead, he signaled for the others to stay away. Next, whether it was the injured monks or those who were preparing to enter the battle, they all sat down cross-legged and started chanting. When that Holy Spirit heard the chanting, he seemed to gradually forget his pain and sat down cross-legged. One could see that there was more and more black chi on his face. He was also chanting. A Buddhist light lit up around him. His face was full of compassion. If not for the black chi that occasionally appeared, he would look like a young monk who had obtained the true essence of the Buddhist Lord. Unfortunately, he was about to die. The monk also came forward. He looked at that Holy Spirit and put his palms together. Amitabha. Good, good. At this moment, everyone was compassionate, but they were also sad. They were helpless and could only watch as their fellow race member died. Qingyi stood at the side and watched silently. She, who was powerless to do anything, felt deep veneration in her heart. Zichen walked forward, passed through the crowd, and arrived in front of the Holy Spirit. At a close distance, he squatted down to size up the other party, or rather, to size up the black gas on the other party's face. It was indeed demonic energy. His life force was flowing away, and the devil chi was growing stronger. Or rather, the devil leech was growing stronger. Zichen stretched out his hand as if he wanted to touch her. Zichen, what are you doing? Monk Shong shouted at the top of his lungs. The others who were chanting opened their eyes. When they saw this scene, their expressions changed. The chanting stopped. Almsgiver, you can't. The Buddha race almighty shouted, the demon leech has no way to break through it at the moment. You will die if you touch it. The Holy Spirit that had been devoured by the demon leech opened his eyes. When he saw Zichen right in front of him, his expression changed. He immediately moved back to keep a distance from Zichen. Almsgiver, don't go forward. This penniless monk has the demon leech in his body. There's no chance of survival, the Holy Spirit said. Zichen was still squatting there. He looked at the Holy Spirit and said, I want to try. Monk came in front of Zichen and grabbed him. Almost all the Buddha race's ability users have tried. No one has survived. Do you think you are more powerful than those almighty figures? Zichen smiled and said, didn't you say that I'm the number one? Monk continued, the Lord has also tried, but after the demon leech enters the body, it becomes one with the host's life. There's no way to break it. The other monks nodded, especially the almighty figure. He was very worried that Zichen would mess around. Zichen looked at Monk and said seriously, but I still want to try. Are you serious? Monk's expression changed. Zichen nodded and said, I always feel that a miracle might happen with me. Monk shook his head again and said, this isn't a joke. The Buddha race isn't weaker than the Holy Thunder clan. The almighty figures of the Buddha race have their own magical powers. The monk was purposely reminding Zichen not to overestimate his own strength. Zichen nodded again and said, I know, but I still want to try. What if I succeed? All right. Monk didn't insist because he knew Zichen's temper very well. As long as it was decided by him, no one could change it. Qingyi, who was at the side, was very worried. The almighty figure even came forward to persuade him. Time waits for no one. If you don't speed up, it will be over. Zichen walked forward. The Holy Spirit with the demon leech in his body retreated again. Almsgiver, I appreciate your kindness. But this penniless monk has let down the Buddha race. I don't want penniless monk to harm you again. Zichen's figure disappeared into thin air. The next moment, he was beside penniless monk. He didn't hesitate to put his palm on penniless monk's shoulder. Dust fell to the ground. In an instant, the voices that were trying to stop him disappeared. There seemed to be an instant of silence in the air. There were no less than 10 almighty figures of the Buddha race standing in the surroundings silently. They all knew Zichen's identity and wanted to stop him. But unfortunately, Zichen was faster. Now, they could only hope for a miracle. Qingyi looked at Zichen. Compared to the others who were worried, her eyes were filled with more anticipation. This was because she had guessed what Zichen was relying on. Now, she wanted to see it. Just as Zichen put his palm on Penniless Monk's shoulder, a portion of the demon leech that had been devouring Penniless Monk split off and went towards Zichen. It was as fast as lightning. In the blink of an eye, it could enter Zichen's body. However, at this moment, a golden light lit up between Zichen's fingers. It was like the sturdiest wall in the world, blocking the demon leech on the other side. No matter how the demon leech twisted and moved forward, it couldn't break through the golden light. This was Zichen's soul power, the soul power of the underworld ghost devouring soul. Seeing this scene, everyone's eyes lit up as if they had seen a miracle. In fact, this was already a miracle. Regardless of whether Zichen could save Penniless Monk or not, this move alone proved that Zichen wouldn't die. Of course, defense wasn't Zichen's goal. Just as his soul power blocked those demon leeches, more soul power appeared at Zichen's fingertips. It was like a thin golden thread that entered Penniless Monk's body. Then, these threads found the demon leech and tied it up layer by layer. Penniless Monk's face was filled with pain. Zichen said, "Hold on a little longer. We'll be fine once we find the others." At this moment, even though Zichen was very careful, he still caused great damage to Penniless Monk because this was an external invasion. Zichen's soul power spread through every meridian in Penniless Monk's body. Once he found traces of the demon leech, he would tie it up. Until the last demon leech was caught. Then, Zichen began to pull the line as if he was fishing. The pain increased by more than 100 times, and Penniless Monk let out a painful cry. Chapter 4165. There was silence all around as everyone held their breaths. Whether a miracle would happen or not depended on the next moment. Sheng Yuan closed his mouth and clenched his teeth. Wisps of blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. At this moment, he felt that this was the most painful thing in the world. Zichen was tense. After all, this was the first time he used soul power to do such a delicate thing. He couldn't afford to be careless. Sweat dripped down his forehead. Qing Yi's eyes were bright. The dark ghost devouring soul technique from the Holy Talisman realm was indeed extraordinary. Sheng Yuan screamed again and almost fainted. Zichen raised his palm. Streams of black light swirled in the center of his palm, twisting and turning continuously. Outside the black light, there were circles of golden threads, which were Zichen's soul power. After the demonic leech was extracted, Sheng Yuan fell to the ground and his aura was extremely weak. The others wanted to go forward to check, but they didn't dare to because they weren't sure if all the demonic leeches had been extracted. "I'm fine now. Just rest well and recover my vitality," Zichen said as he wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. When the others heard this, they put their palms together and bowed with gratitude in their eyes. The demonic leech in his palm was shrinking bit by bit until it completely disappeared. Everyone's expression changed again, thinking that the demonic leech had entered Zichen's body. "I've refined it." The golden light in Zichen's palm disappeared and he stood up. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and thanked him again. Sheng Yuan had already fainted due to his weakness. Before he could thank Zichen, he was carried away. Tyrant came forward and wanted to pat Zichen's shoulder, but he thought of something and shrank back. "You're really something, kid. You've really created a miracle. How about this? I'll appoint you as an elder of the Buddha race. From now on, you can stay in the Buddhist domain and develop. Don't go back to your Holy Thunder clan." This was against the rules, but at this moment, many mighty figures didn't say anything. If Zichen was really willing to stay, they would be happy to make an exception for him. Zichen smiled and said, "Let's go inside and have a look." After cupping his fists at the crowd, Zichen followed Tyrant and another Almighty into the battlefield. The news of Zichen saving a saint source had already spread throughout the Buddhist domain, causing a huge commotion. Because this was the first time in history that a Holy Spirit had been saved. After entering the battlefield, Zichen saw many Holy Spirits guarding the entrance. According to Tyrant, they were there to prevent the devil race from attacking this place. Then, the four of them walked towards the center of the battlefield. Zichen did not ask why he had come to the battlefield. He thought it was because the Buddhas were being hospitable and wanted to bring Zichen to see the secrets of the Buddha. Asterisk 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 Buddha Lord, Shengming has brought Zi-Chen into the battlefield. A holy spirit of the Buddha race came to the Buddha Lord and reported the latest situation. The Buddha Lord was meditating with his eyes closed. He nodded gently. The holy spirit monk said, "There is one more thing. Zi-Chen saved the saint source of the demon leech." The Buddha Lord opened his eyes. "Did you find out the reason?" The holy spirit monk said, "According to the people present, Zi-Chen did not use any special means. He only used his own soul power. The demon leech is not ordinary. It is also a big problem for the devil race. Zi-Chen's soul power could resist it. Do you know what kind of soul power it was?" "I don't know, but it should be related to thunder." The holy spirit monks said, "Could it be because of the power of thunder? After all, thunder naturally suppresses evil. Maybe we can find some reinforcements from the Holy Thunder clan." The Buddha Lord shook his head and said, "Impossible." The Holy Spirit monks were stunned. In fact, they did not understand why the Buddha Lord wanted Zi-Chen to go to the battlefield. After all, there was nothing but blood there. As for resources, Zi-Chen did not lack them. Otherwise, he would not have brought so many Holy Thunder demon bones for free. The Buddha Lord raised his hand and the Holy Spirit monks left. Asterisk 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 It depends on your luck here. If you are lucky, you can meet several devils in a day. If you are unlucky, you cannot meet any for several days. Along the way, Monk was still explaining. Occasionally, he would talk about his battles here. After wandering around for half a day, the four of them found nothing. Monk lost interest and said, "Let's go back. I guess our luck is not with us today." Zi-Chen nodded. He did not care. Qingyi was even more indifferent. She just felt a little regretful that she could not see the devil race with her own eyes. Shengming, who had been silent, suddenly said, "Since we are here, why don't we go to Carefree Mountain to have a look?" Carefree Mountain? Monk's expression changed. Zi-Chen saw the change in Monk's expression and asked, "What is that place?" Tyrant said, "It's a place where the demons often appear. Most of our people are in the vicinity, and every once in a while, we'll go to Mount Carefree to investigate and sweep the area to prevent the demons from forming a climate there. The last time I came back with serious injuries, I followed the other senior brothers to that place and went on a killing spree." Zi-Chen glanced at Shengming and said, "Since we are already here, let's go take a look." Shengming put his palms together and said, "Benefactor is kind." Only then did Qingyi realize that there was a reason why this monk suddenly came here to fawn over them. Even evil good monk was kept in the dark. After advancing for another 15 minutes, energy waves rolled in front of them. There were fluctuations of battle. A 3-star holy spirit of the Buddha race was running away. He was holding a sarira in his hand. The sarira was emitting a defensive Buddhist light. His opponent was a 4-star devil. He had a horn on his head. Occasionally, a ray of devil light would appear from the horn. It was like a black lightning bolt, striking the protective light of the sarira. The protective light was in imminent danger. However, it seemed to be able to block those attacks every time. The battlefield was still some distance away from them. They saw everything with their sole remembrance. Monk took the initiative to increase his speed and flew forward. After Monk left, Shengming apologized and said, "Benefactor, junior brother didn't know about this. It was all Buddha Lord's idea." "Buddha Lord?" Zi-Chen was surprised. "Buddha Lord wants you to go to Carefree Mountain to take a look. As for what Buddha Lord's intention is, we don't know," Shengming said again. Zi-Chen nodded. At this moment, Monk had already arrived at the battlefield. He was also a 3-star devil. However, he was not afraid of the 4-star devil. His Buddhist power was much purer than his companions. As the seal landed, the Buddhist light formed a huge handprint and shot forward. The 4-star devil was sent flying by the handprint. The 4-star devil seemed to have sensed danger and did not continue to attack. Instead, he turned around and fled. "Where do you think you are going?" Monk chased after him without hesitation. Of course, he did not forget to remind his companions to go back and heal their injuries. As for Monk, he did not care. That was because the invincible Zi Chen was following behind him. He would not have any problems here. Chapter 4166. Kill. The monk's shout came from far away. Buddhist power surged in the sky, golden light shooting everywhere, forming rolling tides, like golden sea waves. Don't run if you have the guts. Fighting with your Lord Buddha, you should feel proud. Haha, eat your Lord Buddha's punch. A palm print appeared in the sky, smacking down toward the fiend. Eat Lord Buddha's sword again. A large blade formed from Buddhist power drew a streak of golden light, sending the four-star fiend flying. The three people followed behind. Although their vision could not reach, their soul force could see clearly. Qingyi was smiling, looking at Sheng Ming from time to time, discovering that the other party's face was somewhat black. This friend of Zi Chen's was really an extremely rare oddity. Zi Chen followed silently. Not meeting for many years, the monk was still the same monk, not changing at all. Of course, his realm was still so weak too, not changing at all. Rather, it was Sheng Ming who did not seem to understand the monk too well, appearing very embarrassed at this moment. If Zi Chen asked him one more time, that the Buddhist race's disciples all had such headstrong personalities, the other party would probably find a place to hide in shame. That four-star fiend seemed to have been beaten by the monk until he lost his temper and could only run continuously. Asterisk 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 Carefree Mountain. An enormous mountain peak, tallest, most dangerous, and the steepest. It was the tallest of all the nearby mountain peaks. Fiends frequently gathered here, and the Buddhist race also attached great importance to this place, often gathering a group of powerhouses to come here for a baptism. Furthermore, in the vicinity, there were also Buddhist race 9-star holy spirits holding down the fort. It was just that they had been hiding in the dark all along. At this moment, a black-robed person was currently lying on the summit. He raised his head and looked at the dusky sky, muttering softly, "Legend has it that the sky in the Holy Spirit realm is very blue, the water is very clear, there are beautiful sunrises and sunsets that never set, there are countless cultivation resources, and also infinite happiness. They have everything, but they don't have any worries." He extended 5 fingers and covered his face, looking at the sky through the gaps of his fingers. It's said that that place is countless times better than the fiend race, really enviable. Sigh, why am I worried again? I'm worryless, worryless mountains worryless. Worryless sat up and took a look around. This place was covered in blood everywhere. Some was already dried, some was still very fresh, seemingly left not long ago. He stood up and patted his robes, as if he disliked the ground here. At this moment, 3 people appeared in his field of vision. One of them was a demon, while the other 2 were monks. The 2 of them were chasing after a single person. Wuyo smiled. He smiled very happily. Both sides gradually approached each other until they reached the sky above Mount Carefree. Wuyo just looked at them, but they didn't seem to see Wuyo below. The demon who had been running away suddenly turned around and said, "Baldies, let's stop here. There's no need to send us off." "Mph, demon, today is the day you die," a 5-star Holy Spirit monk said. The demon picked his ear and chuckled. Before you, there were dozens of Baldies who said the same thing. What? The expressions of the 2 monks changed. For some reason, they had a bad feeling in their hearts. "Look, you scared him, didn't you? Mo Lubu, quickly apologize." Wuyo's voice rang out as he walked towards the sky. Only now did the 2 of them see each other, and their expressions changed again. Subconsciously, the 2 of them each took out a sarira to defend themselves. After Wuyo saw the sarira, he clicked his tongue and sighed. Look at him, look at him. This is called the realm of life, don't you know? He took out a big gift as soon as he met us." Turning his head to look at Mo Lubu, Wuyo said unhappily, "He's so polite, how can we not be sensible? Come, show us our gratitude." Mo Lubu immediately cupped his fists and said, "Thank you, Brother Baldies, for sending me here and preparing such a generous gift. I, Mo Lubu, am eternally grateful. Please don't worry, Brother Baldies, we'll definitely make full use of your belongings and won't waste anything. Transmit the message. Retreat." The two holy spirits immediately retreated. At the same time, they activated the light of the Surya to form a protection. This was their greatest reliance in this place. Every Buddhist disciple who entered this place to fight would bring a Surya with them. The Surya could protect them to a great extent here, giving them a great chance of survival. Look, there's not much meaning in this. You've just arrived and you're leaving without saying anything. Moreover, we're all so polite and courteous. You should at least say a few words, right? For example, kneel down and beg me to accept the Surya and spare your lives. Who exactly are you? I'm Wuyo. In the sky, Buddhist power surged. The two retreated quickly. This weirdo who spoke gave them an extremely dangerous feeling. But in the next moment, a thick black fog rose and drowned out the Buddhist light. The Buddhist light seemed to be struggling, but like a flickering candle flame in the dark night, it could be extinguished at any time. When the black fog disappeared, there were 2 more puddles of fresh blood on Mount Wuyo. As for the 2 corpses, they were dragged away by Mo Lubu, along with the 2 Suryas. Not bad. Tell the others to continue. Wuyo said. Yes. Mo Lubu's figure disappeared. Wuyo lay back on the mountain peak and looked up at the sky. I've already told them my name, but they weren't surprised at all. Is it because I'm not famous enough? Suddenly, Wuyo's eyes lit up. Another one? Why is it only 3-star? What's Mo Luaneng doing? Wuyo had just sat up, but he lay back down again, very dissatisfied. Then, his expression changed again. Big fish, it's a big fish. Asterisk 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 oh my, you can really run, your Lord Zeng can barely catch up. The monk looked at the 4-star demon in front of him. It's just that Lord Zeng doesn't understand. Where are you bringing your Lord Zeng to? Monk saw the huge mountain peak in front and said, it's Mount Wuyo. You're taking me to Mount Wuyo? While talking, the two didn't stop. When they reached the peak of Mount Wuyo, the 4-star demon said, you know I did it on purpose? Monk put his palms together and said seriously, your Lord Zeng is so discerning. How can I not see through your tricks? Mo Luaneng snorted and said, you're really arrogant. Monk corrected him. Benefactor, you're lying. This is called confidence, not arrogance. You led me here, but you didn't know I was playing with you along the way. It's like walking a dog. At this moment, a voice came from below. Thank you, thank you. It was Wuyo. He was flying over. Monk saw Wuyo and wasn't nervous at all. You're welcome. Who are you? Wuyo said, I'm Wuyo. Monk said, I'm Shan Xie. Wuyo was stunned. I didn't ask for your name. Chapter 4167. Wuyo smiled. His smile was very happy. The monk also smiled. He was very pleased with himself. At this moment, the two of them seemed to have the same look in their eyes. They looked at each other as if they were idiots. Wuyo said, it seems that you're very confident. Monk said, of course I'm confident. So I want you to remember that your death is because of me. 3 streams of light came from afar and landed in front of Monk. Sheng Yuan looked around and found something unusual. He cried out, something's wrong. Something happened here. Monk was puzzled. Sheng Yuan said, the aura of the senior brother guarding here has disappeared. Monk's face changed. That was a 9-star saint spirit. Not to mention how powerful his combat strength was, he had many life-saving means. It could be said that the people of the Buddha clan who came here could be seriously injured, but it was impossible to kill them. But now, the aura of the 9-star saint spirit had disappeared and a demon was standing on the mountain peak. What did this mean? Monk had a bad feeling in his heart. Look, you can't laugh now, right? Wuyo pointed at himself and said, and I'm still so happy. I thought it was strange before, but I didn't know the reason. Now I know that our people didn't meet anyone along the way. Monk's face changed several times. Could it be that they were also killed? Wuyo snapped his fingers at Monk. That's right. Those nearby should be dead, so we found some bait from afar. But this time, I'm the most satisfied. Wuyo looked at Zi Chen and the other two. The more he looked, the more satisfied he was. Mo Luaneng, you've done a good job. Mo Luaneng, who led Monk here, was very excited. Wu Yo waved his hand and Mo Luaning immediately retreated. He stood aside and prepared to collect the 4 corpses. Zi Chen's eyes fell on Mount Wu Yo below. With his soul perception, he found something strange. Are the 3 of you coming together? Or all together? Wu Yo said with a smile, but his eyes lingered on Qingyi and Sheng Yuan. He ignored Zi Chen. He didn't need to look at a mere 7-star saint spirit. Unexpectedly, the woman who didn't look weak actually took the initiative to say, "This has nothing to do with me. I'm just here for sightseeing." She immediately took a step back and stood next to the monk. "Oh, that's interesting." Wu Yu smiled. Then, he looked at Sheng Yuan and said, "Then, it's you." Sheng Yuan put his palms together and said, "Amitabha, I'm just a guide this time." The saint source also retreated. This made Wu Yo even more surprised. He could only look at Zi Chen, who had not looked at him directly even once. "What about you? Is the excuse a passerby or something else?" Zi Chen took a step forward and said, "I am the one who wants your life." Wu Yo was slightly taken aback. "Is your brain damaged? Are you starting to talk nonsense?" Zi Chen pointed down and said, "That blood contains pure Buddhist power. You must have killed quite a few Buddhas here, right? Therefore, you are destined to die. To be so arrogant, he's either a fool or an idiot." Wu Yo said disdainfully. Even though he said that, he still made his move first. Demonic qi rolled and instantly moved forward like a black fog. Qingyi and the other 2 retreated and took the initiative to give up the battlefield. Zi Chen was immediately shrouded by the black fog. The black fog was rolling violently, and sometimes, powerful aftershocks were stirred up. This is not ordinary demonic qi. This is called demonic cloud insect. Wu Yo looked at Zi Chen, who was already shrouded in the black fog, and explained, "Once the demonic cloud insect attaches itself to you, you will die. That's how the 9-star cultivator died last time." Qingyi and the other 2 retreated again. They had no intention of helping. The surging black fog gradually quieted down. Wu Yo looked at this scene and was even more disdainful. "This is your strength. There were 2 5-star cultivators in front of you who could still struggle a little, but you can't even make a splash. It seems that in this place, without relics, your combat strength will be greatly reduced." Suddenly, the black fog began to shrink rapidly and disappeared quickly. "This is impossible." Wu Yo's expression couldn't help but change. He could no longer maintain his previous calmness because he sensed that the demonic cloud insect's life force was disappearing. Zi Chen stepped forward and walked out of the black fog. The black fog, which had already solidified, fell to the ground. Wu Yo's expression turned cold when he saw that all the demonic cloud insects he refined had died. "Do you know how precious those demonic cloud insects are? How dare you kill them all?" Zi Chen said indifferently, "At this time, shouldn't you be worried about your own life the most?" The 2 rushed forward at almost the same time. "Die!" Wu Yo threw a punch. Endless demonic qi surged, and the whole world became dark. Zi Chen also threw a punch, and there was the sound of rolling thunder. When the 2 fists met, the whole world fell silent. Then, a powerful explosion occurred, and countless waves of qi retreated with a powerful force. Wu Yo's body was sent flying for hundreds of meters. After stabilizing his body, his expression changed again. In the distance, Mo Luaning, who was waiting to collect the corpse, also had a shocked expression. Last time, the 9-star divine spirit secretly guarding this place couldn't send His Excellency flying. He didn't expect that this person, who was only in the 7-star realm, could have such means. At this moment, Mo Luaning had some misconceptions. Could it be that having hair made the spirit race stronger? After all, their opponents had always been hairless. Waves of pain came from his right arm, so Wu Yo didn't want to continue to fight with his opponent. If they exchanged another blow, his arm would probably be shattered. In terms of physical strength, he was obviously weaker. Wu Yo had killed many 7-star spirit race, but this was the first time he had killed someone with such powerful strength. Since attacking didn't work, he decided to attack from afar. Demonic qi surged around his body and gradually turned into a black flame. He looked at Zi Chen and said coldly, This is the demon race's positive demonic fire. Although it's still one level away from the highest level 9, it's enough to kill a 7-star like you. Before you die, do you have any last words? Flames. I have some too. Thunder fire appeared in Zichen's palm, and an ancient aura began to spread. I'll take these as your last words. The demonic fire on Wuyo's body twisted and left his body, turning into a huge palm, and went straight for Zichen. Demonic flame palm. Not only was its power extraordinary, but its speed was also its strength. Almost in an instant, it was in front of Zichen. However, just as it was about to grab Zichen, a palm made of thunder fire appeared out of thin air and collided with the demonic flame palm. Boom! The two huge palm prints collapsed at the same time, forming a powerful wave that flooded the surroundings, including Zichen. Wu Yu snorted coldly once more, and then his pupils constricted. He saw a straight ray of light suddenly rush out from the turbulent energy, like a golden lightning, and arrived in front of Wuyo. Wuyo's expression changed drastically, and a light screen appeared in front of him. The golden light approached with an indomitable will. Slap! The light screen shattered instantly. The golden light disappeared. Wuyo's body was suspended in midair, and his chest was pierced by a black spear. The turbulent energy dissipated, and layers of ripples surged for nearly 1,000 feet before disappearing. The world suddenly became quiet, so quiet that it was hard for people to get used to it. Mo Luoning covered his mouth and tried very hard not to cry out in surprise. The invincible master in his eyes had been pierced through the chest by a 7-star spirit race. Behind him, Sheng Yuan shouted Amitabha. It was the first time Tyrant saw Zichen fight. Although it was expected, he was still very surprised. Qing Yi's expression changed slightly, as if she was a little surprised. You're very fast, but unfortunately, compared to me, you're still a little slow. A faint voice sounded. It was Wuyo. It came from the sky. Wuyo, who was in front of the spear, turned into a piece of demonic jade and shattered with a bang. Zichen looked up at the sky. He saw a huge net falling from the sky. What made up the net was not threads, but countless blades, connected head to tail. Wuyo stood in the sky and looked down at Zichen. His gaze was cold, as if he was looking at a dead man. The space around Zichen was being compressed intensely, making it impossible for him to escape. It seemed like he could only be trapped in the net. Sheng Yuan was a little worried. As a mighty figure of the Buddha race, he did not notice when Wuyo dodged. If the two of them were to fight, he would have to admit that he was already dead. He was a little worried for Zichen. At this moment, Zichen put away his spear, and a sacred talisman brush appeared in his hand. He drew the brush. A straight ray of light shot out from the tip of the brush, as if it was the most beautiful ray of light in the world, rising into the sky. Wherever the ray of light passed, the space was split into two. Since it could even slice space, this black net was naturally nothing. The net was split in the middle, but the ray of light did not dissipate. Instead, it headed straight for Wuyo. Swoosh! The ray of light pierced through Wuyo's body. Blood splattered in the sky, but Wuyo's body was nowhere to be seen. Is this guy playing with disappearance? Tyrant muttered. Zichen's gaze fell on Mount Wuyo below. Since you want to lure me over, let's go take a look. Zichen descended from the sky and landed on Mount Wuyo. Tyrant, I'll leave that guy to you. It was Mo Luoning who did not manage to escape in time. Don't worry, he's just a 4-star. Tyrant laughed and rushed towards Mo Luoning. Come, let's see how I'll kill you. Zichen landed on Mount Wuyo. Qing Yi and Sheng Yuan followed him, and no one cared about Tyrant anymore. Is there something unusual here? Seeing that Zichen's gaze was fixed on a certain spot, Sheng Yuan asked. Zichen pointed the sacred talisman brush in his hand forward. Ripples surged out, and a passage appeared. Sheng Yuan's expression changed. At this moment, he finally understood the Buddha Lord's meaning. Zichen put away the sacred talisman brush, took out his spear and shield, and strode in. He was on high alert, But he did not encounter any surprise attacks during this period. When Zi Chen arrived at the interior of the mountain, what he saw was not billowing demonic aura, but pure Buddhist power. It was as if he had arrived at a certain Buddhist hall. Chapter 4168. The passage was deep, but it was not damp or dark. The surrounding Buddhist power was pure and dense, with a sacred aura. It was as if they had arrived at one of the Buddhist temples in the Buddhist city. Zi Chen was slightly stunned. This was not what he had imagined. Sheng Yuan, who had followed Zi Chen in, saw this scene and his expression changed. As a member of the Buddhist race, he knew very well what this meant. For a moment, his face was filled with grief, and even his body began to tremble. Zi Chen felt the abnormality behind him and turned to look at Sheng Yuan. Sheng Yuan said, "To create a place with Buddhist power comparable to a Buddhist temple in an unfamiliar place, the first requirement is a huge Buddhist formation." Buddhist formation? Zi Chen said with some surprise, "Are you saying that a member of the Buddhist race has betrayed us?" Sheng Yuan said bitterly, "A Buddhist formation is not something that can only be created by a member of the Buddhist race. It can be created by a Buddhist object." Zi Chen said, "You mean the Sarira of the Buddhist race? There is a formation made of Sarira here? How many Sarira would that require?" A Sarira represented the life of a Buddhist Holy Spirit. The amount of Sarira that could be used to create a formation was unimaginable. Such a big thing had happened, but the Buddhist race had no idea. What did this mean? What was Wu Yu's intention for purposely luring Zi Chen here? After Wu Yu entered the underground, he went straight to the core. That stroke earlier had clearly split his body into two. There was an independent space under the core. There were more than a dozen demons in this space, all of them at the 9-star level. In the center, there was an existence shrouded in a black robe sitting cross-legged. There was a Buddhist formation below him. The formation was completely made of Sarira, and it rippled with boundless Buddhist light. There were nearly 1,000 of them. "Sir." Wu Yu walked in and bowed respectfully to the black-robed man. "You are injured," the black-robed man said indifferently. "There is a powerful figure outside. I can't beat him, so I led him in." "What?" the black-robed man said in a serious tone. "You led an outsider into our secret place? Do you know what this means?" The gazes of the others that looked at Wu Yu also became ice-cold. This was the greatest secret of the demon race for tens of thousands of years. What was the point of drawing the enemy here? Wu Yu explained, "There is a 9-star cultivator inside. As long as we take his relics, our mission will be considered complete. Luring them into this place and directly opening the door is like killing 2 birds with 1 stone. There was only one last high-level Sarira left before the demon race's grand plan would succeed. A 9-star one was just right." The gazes of the others that looked at Wu Yu warmed up quite a bit. "Where are they?" the black-robed man asked. "We should be here soon," Wu Yu said. "Why didn't you say so earlier?" "I'm going to kill them now," a demon said angrily as he walked out. "Don't be impulsive," Wu Yu shouted. "He's really strong." "That's because you are too weak." As soon as he finished speaking, his body flew backward and smashed into the Buddha formation. Everyone's expression changed as they looked towards the entrance. "I was wondering where this was. So it was you who lured me to the devil's den," a faint voice sounded as Zi Chen walked in. When everyone saw Zi Chen, their expressions changed. He was actually a 7-star cultivator. They looked at Wu Yu. Wu Yu said somewhat shamefully, "That's him." They looked at their fallen comrade. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his face immediately turned pale. Qing Yi and Sheng Yuan walked in. When they saw the number of people here, they were somewhat surprised. The black-robed man still had his back to the crowd. Both sides fell into silence, but this silence only lasted for a moment. "Kill." A voice that no one knew who shouted broke the silence in this place. In an instant, all the demons moved. However, they didn't attack Zi Chen, but Sheng Yuan. Sheng Yuan's Sarira was something they had to get. Qing Yi quickly retreated and left through the entrance. Her reaction was extremely fast, and she had no intention of fighting. In contrast, Sheng Yuan called out a Buddhist name and humanely said, "Benefactor, take care of yourself before retreating." Zi Chen stood at the entrance, a spear in one hand and a shield in the other, blocking all the attacks. In the next moment, a fierce battle broke out. The long spear in Zi Chen's hand rippled and quickly moved forward like a golden lightning. A 9-star demon's body was penetrated. This was only an external injury, so it shouldn't be able to kill a 9-star saint spirit. However, in the next moment, a strong force of death was stimulated from the long spear and poured into the demon's sea of consciousness. The demon's sea of consciousness seemed to have encountered a destructive storm. His powerful soul was constantly being torn apart, shattered, and eventually destroyed. This was Zi Chen's true combat strength. In the previous battle with Wu You, he was actually still holding back. Zi Chen raised the light shield and blocked the attacks. Then, the long spear went straight for the chest of the second demon like a flood dragon. A long sword suddenly appeared in the demon's hand. He held the sword in front of him and blocked Zi Chen's spear. The powerful rebound force sent the demon's body flying backward. However, he also saved his life because of this. The battle was still going on, and powerful fluctuations continued to surge in this space that wasn't very big. The black-robed man was still sitting cross-legged with his back to everyone. The Surya Buddha formation under him was intact. Qing Yi and Sheng Yuan stood outside. The two could no longer see the situation inside. They could only sense the abnormalities through the energy fluctuations. The two of them didn't worry about Zi Chen. They seemed to have great confidence in him. The battle lasted for a quarter of an hour. The energy fluctuations slowly disappeared. When it calmed down, the two of them walked inside. At first glance, there were corpses everywhere. All the demons had been killed by Zi Chen. Zi Chen, on the other hand, was leaning against a corner. His spear and shield were placed beside him. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. His face was very pale. Amitabha. Excellent, excellent. Sheng Yuan put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. Qing Yi, on the other hand, looked at Zi Chen. So miserable. Zi Chen wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "These people are not weak. Not only were they 9 stars, but they were also the best of the 9 stars. Zi Chen naturally had a hard time fighting them." Zi Chen stood up again, picked up the spear and shield again, and then looked ahead warily. The black-robed man still didn't turn around, even if his companions died one after another. He didn't speak, didn't attack, and didn't even use the slightest bit of soul power. He was like a wooden man. Amitabha. Benefactor, the sea of bitterness is boundless. Turn back and you will be saved. Sheng Yuan looked at the black-robed man and said, "The sea of bitterness is boundless, but turning back and you will be saved." The black-robed man in front finally spoke. His voice carried some vicissitudes and seemed to be tired. His body turned, revealing the face under the black robe. It was very old. Chapter 4169. Hearing Sheng Yuan's exclamation, Zi Chen was surprised. Did they know each other? The black robe slid down his head, revealing the true appearance of the black-robed man. It was a bald monk. Zi Chen's expression changed. He was very surprised because the leader of the demons was a bald monk. Qing Yi was also very surprised. "Shishu Shengde, why are you here?" Sheng Yuan recognized him and said in disbelief. "Sheng Yuan, long time no see." Monk Shengde smiled as if he saw an old friend. "Shishu, why are you here?" Sheng Yuan couldn't accept the scene in front of him. One called him Shishu while the other called him Shishu. There seemed to be a problem in seniority, but Sheng Yuan didn't care about it. In the Buddha clan, and even in the entire Saint Spirit realm, because there were many forces and many seniority, most of the seniority was unified by realm. As Sheng Yuan, they were brothers of the same sect. Sheng Yuan used to be called Wu Yuan, and Shengde was his Shishu. After he became a Sheng Yuan, he became a Sheng Yuan in the Buddha clan, the same generation as Shengde. But in his heart, he had always respected this legendary Shishu and had never changed the way he addressed him. Shishu Shengde was very famous in the Buddha clan. Even though he had fallen many years ago, he was still not forgotten. At least, he was not forgotten by the people on this battlefield. Because the first large-scale battle was because Shishu Shengde, a 9-star Shengyuan, had died on Carefree Mountain. At that time, Shishu Shengde was the first to discover the secret of Carefree Mountain and destroyed the demon's invasion plan. Shengyuan looked at the relics on the ground and then at Shishu Shengde sitting cross-legged on them. His heart was very complicated and he didn't know what to say. Those relics were all disciples of the Buddha clan. He couldn't even blame them. The hero of the past had suddenly become an accomplice of the devil race, and he was constantly killing his own fellow disciples. "Monk, did you do this?" At this moment, Zichen suddenly spoke. Shengde looked at Zichen and asked, "Benefactor, have you recovered?" Zichen said, "I haven't fully recovered yet, but it should be enough to deal with you alone." Monk Shengde put his palms together and said, "Lao Na has been here for too long. I didn't know that such a young hero had appeared in the Saint Spirit Jie. How should I address this young benefactor?" Zichen said, "Holy Thunder Clan, Zichen." Monk Shengde said, "Looks like you are indeed a young hero. Lao Na admires you, admires you." Zichen looked at Shengde and said, "Can you explain what is going on? Would you like to hear it?" Shengde raised his head and looked at Zichen. "Actually, I don't really want to hear it," Zichen said, "but I always feel that it's a bit of a pity to beat you to death like this. Why don't you share your story with us so we can have an audience?" Seeing this, Sheng Yuan's eyes lit up again. "I'll have to start many years ago. It's a long story. I wonder if Benefactor has the patience." "Don't worry, it's good that you're a bit older. At least you'll be able to die a bit later." Shengde smiled. "Benefactor is very kind." There was a look of reminiscence in the old monk's eyes. Many years ago, the Buddhist race had just discovered this battlefield. Because they had never dealt with the demon race before, they suffered great losses in their first battle. The battle was extremely tragic. Countless Buddhist race experts died. At that time, the demon race had occupied this place for a long time. This battlefield could be considered their camp, and we were just outsiders. After countless years of battle, the Buddhist race relied on the fearless sacrifice of countless disciples to gradually exterminate the demon race. This was the first time Shengde had heard about the early days of the battlefield, so he listened very carefully. Zichen and Qing Yi didn't disturb him. They just followed the old monk's train of thought. The demon race was very strong, and they were good at bewitching people. The Buddhist race disciples suffered great losses. As for those who gave birth to inner demons, some could be reborn, and some would die under them. The old monk's smile suddenly became a bit strange. And some would be assimilated and controlled by inner demons. Zichen said, "So, you are the latter?" The old monk said, "Sort of." Zichen was somewhat puzzled. What did he mean by sort of? That year, my junior apprentice brother and I came to this battlefield to participate in the battle. We saw the demon race's defeat, but the clever junior apprentice brother guessed that the demon race seemed to have another hiding place. So, when the two of us were fighting, we carefully looked for suspicious places. Finally, we found this Carefree Mountain. What followed was the first battle of extermination. It was recorded in the history of the Buddhist race, so Shengde was very clear about it. In that battle, the Buddhist race had suffered great losses, but they had destroyed the demon race's plan to invade. Since then, Carefree Mountain had been the focus of the Buddhist race's attention. But this was what the world knew. What Shengde was about to tell everyone next was another secret. After the battle began, junior apprentice brother felt that this was not the demon race's secret place, or it could be said that this was just bait deliberately used by the demon race. At that time, junior apprentice brother decided to take the risk and use the demon race's inner demons to control him. He joined the demon race and unearthed the demon race's greatest secret, completely destroying the demon race's scheme. The expressions of the three changed at the same time. Obviously, the truth was about to surface. But I was the senior apprentice brother. How could I watch junior apprentice brother take the risk? So I took the initiative to trigger the inner demons and used the first battle to fake my death, forever staying on this battlefield. Once again recalling the past, the old monk's smile became somewhat bitter. At that time, junior apprentice brother and I discussed many countermeasures, many possibilities, and many secret signals. But we still underestimated the demon race's strength and their vigilance. For many years, we still couldn't find an opportunity, so the inner demons kept invading us, causing us to completely lose our chance. The old monk let out a sigh. I lost contact with junior apprentice brother. And for the sake of the demon race's so-called test, I walked further and further down the path of becoming a demon. In the end, I was unable to turn back. I knew you old thief were up to no good. You ruined our demon race's great plan. We won't let you off. A cold voice suddenly rang out. One of the people who had fallen dead suddenly rushed toward the entrance. It was Carefree. He had actually faked his death. Zichen turned around, wanting to chase after him. Let him go, the old monk said. I've already grasped all the secrets of this place. I've also learned of the demon race's plan to invade the Saint Spirit realm. This time, I've already completely destroyed it. Of course, Zichen wouldn't listen to the old monk, because the monk was still outside. Who knew whether or not Carefree would kill the monk in a fit of anger after he went out? He didn't think that a mere 3-star monk could block the opponent's attack. But as soon as Zichen moved, Carefree's voice rang out. Hehe, so there was one hidden here. Then I'll use you to exchange for the demon race's great plan. Chapter 4170. Aren't you surprised? Aren't you pleasantly surprised? I'm back. Wuyo grabbed the monk by the neck and walked back in. He looked at the people in the hall with a smile, especially Zichen. Zichen sighed and said, You shouldn't have come back. Isn't it better to just leave and live? Why do you have to send yourself to death? Bah. Live. Today, not only do I want to live, but I also want to carry out the demon race's 10,000-year plan. As for sending yourself to death, you're talking about this idiot, aren't you? Waiting for me to catch him? Wuyo grabbed the monk's neck with all his strength. The monk's face was filled with pain. He looked at Zichen and said, My eyesight has been extraordinary since I was young. I can see many things that ordinary people can't. So you don't have to deny my words. I can see that he's very important to you. Now, listen to my orders. If you want him to live, kill this 9-star. Zichen's expression was a little strange. Are you serious? Wuyo said angrily, Do you think I'll joke with you at this time? If you don't do as I say, he'll have to die. Are you sure? Zichen looked at him. Wuyo exerted strength again. There were already cracking sounds coming from the monk's neck, as if it was about to break. The monk also cried out in pain. Wuyo was very satisfied. He looked at Zichen proudly. What's the choice? It's up to you. Sheng Ming put his palms together. Amitabha, benefactor. Wuyo interrupted him. You have no right to speak here. Shut up. Sheng Ming didn't say anything else. Qingyi took 2 steps back. She used her actions to show that she didn't want to participate in this matter. Monk Shengde was like a storyteller. He also watched silently. Because there was no audience for the time being, he didn't continue. Everyone looked at Zichen, waiting for his reply. Zichen looked at the monk and said, I want to thank you for sacrificing yourself for the Buddha race. Would you be happy? The monk's eyes widened. Why? Are you trying to kill me? Zichen said indifferently, Sacrifice is inevitable. Who among us doesn't sacrifice? Who among us? Listening to the conversation between the two, Wuyo suddenly had a bad feeling in his heart. At that moment, Zichen made his move. The spear in his hand thrust forward with great force. He wasn't aiming at Wuyo, but at the monk. At such a close distance, the monk couldn't dodge in time and his body was pierced through by the spear. Puff! The spear had completely penetrated the monk's body. The monk's eyes were wide open as he looked at Zichen in disbelief. It was as if he couldn't believe that Zichen would make a move just like that. He hadn't even finished his sentence. Zichen stood in front of the monk, the other end of the spear almost touching the monk's body. I told you, you shouldn't have come back. Zichen loosened his grip on the spear and pushed it forward. The spear pierced through the monk's chest. Wuyo, who was standing behind the monk, took a few steps back. He grabbed his spear with both hands and stared at Zichen. Earlier, the spear had not only pierced through the monk's body, it had also pierced through his body. His eyesight was not bad. He knew very well that this fellow before him cared a lot about that baldy. But, how could this be? Amitabha. Sheng Ming and Sheng De chanted the name of Buddha at the same time. The monk fell to the ground. Aren't you too ruthless? Do you have to make a move like this? I have plenty of ways to resolve this matter peacefully. Zichen said, isn't this faster and more effective? Besides, you didn't lose anything other than a superficial wound, right? I've saved your trump card for you. Why aren't you thanking me? I'm thanking you for dying. You're just jealous. Jealous that your Lord Zeng is handsome and confident. Jealous that your Lord Zeng's Dharma is boundless. The monk praised himself and then began to heal his wounds. After all, it wasn't appropriate for the wound to keep bleeding. Zichen's control of his strength was exquisite. The monk had indeed suffered a superficial wound. As for Wuyo, he was really dead this time. Zichen walked to Wuyo's side, pulled out the spear and put it away. He returned to his original spot and looked at the old monk, indicating for him to continue the story. Actually, the story was about to end at this point. Monk Sheng De passed all kinds of tests and gained the trust of the devil race. So they brought him to the real secret place and shared the secrets of the devil race. Sheng De used the Dharma he mastered to build a Surya Buddhist formation here. He wanted to help the devil race open a path to the two worlds. Right now, he only needed a high-quality Surya to open the path. Who would have thought that before he could get the last Surya, Zichen would come first and wipe them all out? Monk Sheng De put his palms together and finished the story. Sheng Ming stood there, not knowing what to say. Qing Yi was touched. She also didn't know how to distinguish right from wrong in this matter. Zichen said, the story is very interesting. You can come with us. Sheng De asked, Benefactor, why don't you kill me directly? Zichen said, this is a matter of the Buddha race. It should be arranged by the Buddha race. I have no right to interfere. Of course, he didn't want to interfere. Benefactor is very kind. Sheng De's body suddenly burned with flames. It was supposed to be pure Buddha fire, but now it was mixed with black devil chi. He really didn't suppress his inner demons. Martial uncle, what do you mean? Sheng Ming said anxiously, we'll talk about it when we get back. We can't go back. It's also good to die here. After I die, destroy everything here and bring these Sariras back. They are not contaminated. Sheng De put his palms together and chanted a Buddhist name. The raging Buddha demon fire completely drowned him. Qing Yi was deeply touched. She could feel the power of the other party. It seemed that he was only half a step away from becoming a holy venerable. Once he overcame his inner demons, he might be able to take that half a step and become a holy venerable. Unfortunately, he made another choice. This monk's sin is unforgivable. This is the best outcome. The Buddha demon fire had completely swallowed Sheng De. His voice came from the flames. Zichen stood there, put his palms together, and bowed to the old monk. At this moment, his heart was filled with admiration for the old monk. He respected Sheng De's choice. Sheng Ming and the good and evil monks sat down and began to chant for Sheng De. A holy aura shrouded the surroundings. Even the corpses were glowing with Buddhist light. Zichen and Qing Yi left. They didn't expect their trip to turn out like this. Actually, he didn't have to choose this path. He just has to be good. Qing Yi said, this way, the Buddhist race might have another holy venerable. Zichen shook his head and said, after returning, he will keep blaming himself. In the end, he will either be swallowed by his inner demons or die of depression. However, the possibility of him advancing is not high. Why? Qing Yi asked in confusion, are you sure he didn't kill those monks? He didn't kill them, but they died because of him. Each of those Sariras represented a holy spirit of the Buddhist race. Although that was the case, Zichen felt regretful. He said that he wanted to bring the old monk back. Wasn't he trying to give him a chance to live? Unfortunately, the old monk refused. He respected the other party's choice. An hour later, the monk and Sheng Ming walked out. There was a Surya in Sheng Ming's hand. It was emitting a demonic light. Chapter 4171. Everything underground was destroyed. Sheng Ming brought the corpses out. As for Sheng De and Sheng Ling, there was only one bone-grinding relic left. On the way back, everyone was speechless. Even the talkative monk seemed to be silent. The truth of the past, the death of his fellow clansman, and Sheng De made his heart heavy. After returning to the Buddha tribe, Sheng Ming went to see the Buddha Lord. Zi Chen and the other two returned to the monk's residence. Sheng Ming brought the bone-grinding relic and the other relics to the Buddha Lord and told him what happened. The Buddha Lord took the bone-grinding relic with a complicated expression. In the end, he sighed. The Buddha Lord asked, "Did senior brother say anything?" Sheng Ming suddenly understood. That junior brother of his was the current Buddha Lord. And this time, the Buddha Lord allowed Zi Chen to enter the battlefield. It was definitely not a coincidence. He intended to let Zi Chen handle this matter. Perhaps the death of the 9-star clansman was a signal sent by Uncle Sheng De. As for why he did not send a large force to clean up, it should be because he was afraid of alerting the enemy. A world's strongest Zi Chen was just right. Sheng Ming shook his head. Even when he left in the end, Uncle Sheng did not say anything. The Buddha Lord waved his hand gently. Sheng Ming left the room. He had other arrangements for the other relics. Zi Chen planned to stay here for a few more days. After that, he bid farewell to the monk. After all, the monk was only at the 3-star realm. He still needed time to grow. Who knew that at this moment, Sheng Ming came to look for Zi Chen again. This time, he sent a message to Zi Chen. The message came from a few big clans. All of them said that Zi Chen should not go there. Because everyone was in seclusion, he could not meet them even if he went. It was obvious that the big clans had been paying attention to the movements of Zi Chen, the number one person. Demon Ape, Wang Xian, Zhong Haotian, and the others were all in seclusion. When the monk heard the news, he chuckled and said, "Seems like you can't go anywhere. You should continue to stay here." Zi Chen was helpless. It seemed like the plan to go out had to be terminated. "Oh right, why don't you stay in the Buddha tribe? I'll arrange a position for you," the monk suggested again. Zi Chen did not agree. Asterisk 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 in the outer city, in an inn, a middle-aged man sat in a room drinking tea. Suddenly, someone knocked on the door. The middle-aged man put down his teacup and said lightly, "Come in." A man walked in, closed the door, and said, "Sir, there is still no news of Zi Chen." The middle-aged man said indifferently, "If there's no news, it means that Zi Chen is still in the core area. Have someone continue to investigate and report back as soon as there's any news." "Yes." The other party left, and the door closed once again. The middle-aged man picked up his teacup again and sneered, "Zi Chen, it's your bad luck that you ran into us this time. No matter how strong you are, we can still refine you." Asterisk 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 Qing Yi was very interested in the Buddhist halls. Therefore, in the next few days, the group was looking at the Buddhist halls and eating Buddhist food. Although there was no meat, the taste was still very good. Qing Yi observed very carefully. She wanted to see some kind of enlightenment from the arrangement of these Buddhist halls. During this time, she would also ask Monk about some things. Unfortunately, Monk did not know much about it and could not explain it himself. 5 days later, Zi Chen decided to leave. "Where are you going?" Monk asked. Since his plan to find his friends was ruined, Zi Chen seemed to have no destination. He thought for a while and said, "Let's take one step at a time." He had no other plans at the moment. Monk said, "In that case, Lord Zeng will personally come out of the city to see you off and give you some face." Zi Chen said sarcastically, "It's not certain who will give face to whom, right?" Before leaving, Sheng Ming came again to express his gratitude to Zi Chen. Of course, it was just a verbal thank you. In Monk's words, the Buddhist race was lacking in resources and it was impossible to reward them. If it was really possible, Zi Chen could donate some incense money. In addition to the verbal thanks, Zi Chen also gained the friendship of the Buddhist race. This friendship was fought for by Zi Chen and had nothing to do with Monk. Monk sent the two of them to the outer city. Monk said, "How about I treat you to a good meal?" Zi Chen smiled. There are many people here. Aren't you afraid of gossip? Monk said, what's there to be afraid of? You're here. Besides, we can find a private room where no one can see. The monk in front of him was still the same monk who ate meat. In order to satisfy Monk's small request, Chen nodded and agreed. During the meal, Monk ate heartily. While Monk was eating, the other people in the Buddhist city were not idle either. First, many disciples of the Buddhist race appeared from a secret passage and then walked out of the city. At the same time, there was an inexplicable force that was also on the move. The middle-aged man, who had drunk a lot of tea in the room, had long lost the mood to enjoy tea. He had received news that Chen was about to leave. You have to have a good meal because this will be the last enjoyment of your life. He glanced at the place where Chen was eating, then left the outer city and began to strategize. He did not care about the Buddhas who were hiding around to protect Chen. Zen and the other two walked out of the restaurant. Monk had returned to his original appearance, except for his bulging belly. Is it bad luck if I say take care now? When it was time for them to part, Tyrant said in all seriousness. We'll find out next time. Chen walked out of the city and waved at Monk without looking back. Cultivate well. You're still too weak now. Don't show up before you become a 9-star saint spirit. 9-star? What a big tone. Aren't you just a 7-star saint spirit now? Monk sneered. Chen turned back and smiled mysteriously. I mean, only a 9-star saint like you is qualified to fight with me. Monk was furious. Chen, if you have the guts, let's fight one-on-one. Do you think I'm afraid of you in the same realm? That's too boring. If you have the ability, come after me. Chen left. Qingyi turned around and waved goodbye to Monk. Monk looked at Chen's back. His previous anger was obviously fake. He muttered, don't die. Following Chen's departure were the Buddhas who were hiding in the dark, as well as many spies. Monk knew what Chen was going to do. Unfortunately, the gap between their realms was too big. Monk wanted to help, but he was powerless. Chen and Qingyi walked out of the city. Qingyi had already sensed the experts following them, but she did not say anything. The two left the outer city and walked into the distance. No danger appeared. Chen left this world and stepped into a flying ship, flying out of the Buddhist region. Soon, several flying ships left with Chen. It was unknown whether they were friends or foes. 3 days later, Chen arrived at the edge of the Buddhist region. After he entered the region, the space there began to surge, and countless ripples appeared. Like a light screen, Chen took the flying ship and plunged into it. The flying ships followed closely behind. Just as they reached the region, everything returned to normal. Disciples of the Buddhas walked out of the flying ships.